Y'all ready?
Yeah.
I heard somebody say, John, where you been at? I said, you ain't been paying attention to the game? My DNA's everywhere. So, please remind these niggas.
Kiss more careless, bad chest tattoos, big chain fat Jews, coupon shack shoes, that dude bad news.
Yeah.
Black heart, black tool, crack on that spoon.
I know some of y'all see the name of this and like, what the fuck is going on tonight? Well,
it's a lot of shit going on.
What's going on? You now tune in live to Seriously Not Another Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Ready, joined by my beautiful, still in the States.
I don't know about
yes,
that.
AC.
I don't know about that.
Oh my
yes,
God.
Indeed. What's happening?
And then we got.
I need no introductions. It's the Pickles, nigga.
Live in the flesh, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just gonna stop the music abruptly. Some of y'all may if you've been following the show, some of you may remember this guy. He's he quite a character. He used to call in a lot and had a lot of shit to say. You know, being at one point being a rude guy and why being rude was getting some points across. So we have in here tonight, pause, Mr. Pickles.
What's up? It's the Pickle. What's up?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Damn right.
Yeah, we don't trip off of the name. I don't have a MAGA hat. One of y'all own a MAGA hat?
Hell no.
Okay, nobody owns the MAGA hat.
No, it's a no.
And this is episode 31. It took forever to get over this hump. AC, how was your week this week? Was it all right? Was it?
It was a good week. It was productive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm motherfucking tired though.
Oh yeah, I'm tired. I'm working 7 days straight this week, so I'm not getting no weekend off this week.
Man,
how about you, Pickle? How was your week?
Always tired, man. Always working.
Always working.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before the show started, I always got to talk with my little small talk, and with everything going on, a lot of people are siding with this Kanye stuff and against Kanye, some for him, and a lot of people are being what would you call it? Would you call them sheep? Like following? They follow whatever they feel is like the majority of what people say.
Of
right?
course, yeah.
So somehow I'm gonna tie change is good into this. I got a story I talked to my boy about recently when I was in Palmdale, living in Palmdale. I was in the 8th and 9th grade out there, and I had a close homie out there by the name of Antoine. Antoine's my road dog, and back then I was kind of bad back then, and me and my boy No Good. I ain't gonna put his government out there. My boy No Good. We was talking, and he was telling me how savage I used to be when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my boy Antoine, that was like my dog. Like, the nigga can do no wrong, right? So, one day, we went to these apartments in Palmdale. I'm not gonna say the name. We used to hang out in these apartments, and we went to this chick house. And we actually pulled a kick door. Those don't know what a kick door is. It's when you run up in the house and you rob and take whatever's in there and whoever's in there. So we go in there. My boy had a strap. Didn't know he had the strap. He had a strap. Now, mind you, we 13 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
This is you're not supposed to be doing this type of stuff at this age. You know what I'm saying?
You're not supposed to be doing that at any age.
This is very true. And the crazy part, the reason why I was moved out there was because to get away from this stuff. And also because, like I said before, my uncle I said that all white people was racist when I was like 12. So my uncle took me out there to live amongst white people to show you that all white people wasn't racist. So it was supposed to be the change of everything. So we out there, we go up in there, we tearing that shit up. Now, the crazy part is we knew this girl. We knew her. Whoa. And this how stupid we were, because we knew her, and my life could have been messed up from that day on. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I'd have been tried as a child, or I don't know, as a kid, whatever. But we go up in there. He got the girl in there at gunpoint. So I'm like, yo, you wildin'. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I grab my stuff and I'm out. The other nigga that was with us, he got what he came for and got out. Now, what the crazy part of what I didn't know, and this is what messed me up, is that later find out this nigga had her at gunpoint and forced her to give him fellatio after we left already.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
rape.
Yeah. So I'm like, yo, that's nuts for a 14-year-old. We 14 and 13. We I was in the ninth. I think I was in the ninth grade. And Antoine, man, he went on, and the guy that I was talking about, he ended up robbing this dude with some homies. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we all was cool at one point. Or I don't know what their situation was. Like, I had two sets of friends. Just like I got multiple sets of friends. I had friends here, right? So Antoine was like the dark side friends. Like, everybody kicked it with him. We did the bad shit there. Then Bizzle, as some of y'all know, who is now a Christian rapper. Me and him ain't no good. Them was my good friends. So it wasn't no BS over here. It was just all music, hip hop. Over there, it was BS. But excuse me, it's a trip how, that split of a moment of me being there, of us being there, everybody's lives could have been changed. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is in 98.
So what happened to the rapist?
Nothing. Nothing happened. She,
as Melania said, no proof. No evidence.
It could have been proof. I mean, shit. Look, the girl was a white girl. She was a white girl. So no matter white in Palmdale, and you tell somebody that, he would have went to jail. Got the dog. They probably would have killed him out there. So it's just crazy how he turned out. Like, I knew he was bad, but the level he ended up being was crazy. And I thank God that when everything happened for a reason, right? So situation happened to where I ended up living with moms. Moms couldn't get no job out there, so she moved back to the city. So we left. And I say, like, if I would have still been out there, everything that would have went on and everything that all the corrupt shit he was doing, I'd probably been dead by now. Because that was my dog, like, faults and all, like, we was just riding for each other.
What
like
is
that.
he doing today?
I don't know. I've been trying to get in contact with him. I hit up his cousin. She said she haven't talked to him. All I know is he out in Vegas somewhere. Or that's what she told me. I looked at my message. That was 5 years ago when I contacted her about him. You know what I'm saying? But
interesting.
And to tie that into, it's a trip how you can be at a younger age and you get older and be a complete opposite.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm not with no bullshit. Like, I'm trying.
I wouldn't say all that.
I heard a story about you, man.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know
relax,
about.
I did a little research. I heard a story about you and your cousin Jason and another kid named Maurice stomping a grown ass nigga out in the driveway, man. Yeah, back in what was that, 99?
I mean, look,
no, that was like 96.
I was still a young man.
Yeah, and they were in junior high school. I heard a story about that.
I was still young, but now we talking about now in the present. I'm 35 years old. It's a lot of stuff that happened back then. Like, this nigga said he might be in Nevada State Penitentiary. That's funny. This nigga, Dolly with Ant.
Okay.
This nigga didn't change. This nigga on here. This nigga changed his picture. That's
He
funny.
stay changing the picture. What he looking like this week? Okay, sir.
But yeah, man.
I heard Ant had the Lottie Dottie beard. He still got it?
Do a Lottie Dottie beard?
Yeah.
What's the Lottie Dottie? He
With
got
Bin Laden?
Yeah, he still got the beard.
That's what's up, man.
He still got the beard. But yeah, man, it's a trip how I did a complete a 180 of how it used to be back then, and now I'm trying to be super square. I ain't trying to hang out where
I think
niggas
I've done
hanging
a
out.
180 as well.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be none of that shit. I'm trying to do my podcast shit, and I'm trying to just make a honest dollar living, and that's it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you gotta.
This nigga say I'm learning new things about my brother every day. That's Tyler. Yeah, bro. I was a young savage, man.
I'm telling you, like what? Junior high school, 8th grade?
It's good how time changed, because people would never think that because of how I am now. You know what I'm saying? I'm so different now. Like, you wouldn't think that. Even people at work be like, oh, he ain't like that. I'm like, no, I'll fuck you up in here, nigga. But I'm cool. Like, I don't wanna fuck up my money.
No.
I catch you niggas outside of work, it'll go down, but you ain't fucking no money. But change is good, everybody. Change is good. If you don't believe in change,
Gotta evolve, man.
Kidding me?
you're gonna be somewhere strange.
Doing something strange for some change.
Man.
If you don't change.
So
Only do it.
AC, I know we had a lot of talk about tonight. We had like I said, the Kanye West and Trump situation. We had a special caller
Yeah.
that was gonna call in. I was supposed to let him know when everything was going down. He told me to contact him when we was ready. So I'm trying to figure how to bring it in. Or you want to start with the other topic with the
Well, so
excuse me.
this is like kind of difficult for me because I don't want to spoil it for the people who might not have already seen it. But if it makes it any better, you're not necessarily missing anything from the standpoint of this being like an excellent movie, but
None whatsoever.
but just for the sake of the conversation piece, I hit up Been Ready earlier in the week, or like during the weekend or whatever. I was on my Netflix and chill shit, and so I'm watching Tales from the Hood 2. I didn't even know there was a Tales from the Hood 2. So I'm like, oh great,
And the funny thing about that is we didn't tell each other about watching it. I was talking to one by the name of Lady A who does podcasting too, and she was telling me like, yo, I'm about to watch this whatchamacallit, you should check it out too. I said, yeah, I'm gonna check it out. And it was the crazy coincidence that you hit me up like, yeah, you should watch it. I'm like, yo, I just finished watching it. But
right. Yeah. And so then like within like the first 30 minutes or so, I'm hitting him up and I'm like, oh, like, I could already tell that this is going to have like some underlying messages in here. Like, we might have to talk about this. He like, nah, this shit kind of corny. I don't know about that shit.
That shit was very corny.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna take some notes while I'm watching this or whatever. And then when I get done, I'm gonna shoot them to you. And so then when I shot them to you, you were like, oh damn, like I didn't even necessarily catch all that.
Yeah, you wrote shit to me like a mad girlfriend be texting a boyfriend. Like, it was so much, like that list was long as fuck. Like you was for real, like you was in college taking notes and shit.
Well, cause aside from, my ratchet side, I am a sociologist and an anthropologist. So I study human behavior, and stuff like this intrigues me when I like see things that have to do with like race and like, stuff like that. That's like my passion. So neither here nor there. We're talking about Tales from the Hood 2 on Netflix. Spoiler alert, we're going to be discussing some symbolism in the movie. So if you haven't seen it, oh fucking well, you're about to hear some shit about the movie. You might want to actually listen to this before you watch the movie anyway, because then it's going to open your eyes a little bit more while you're watching the movie. But so overall, we all know Tales from the Hood is basically, the premise is, oh, okay, somebody's using some storyline to tell tales from the hood. And there's, even in the first one, there was like some racial stuff going on within
with the
stories
police
too.
one, right?
With all of them, like the little dolls and stuff. Remember the dolls was chasing like the little guy, the first one, and then like the last one where they had
Niglets.
Yeah. And then they had like the last one, was it like Joe Torre who played that role when he was like on that machine or whatever, and then they were like trying to brainwash him. So it was kind of like that with this one too. And it was like broken down into like 4 stories, but like the main story was like the guy owned like this company, and he's basically trying to like use robots as a police force or whatever. And so basically
it's crazy.
The main black character is telling the stories to use those as fuel for the robot to know basically who he should be targeting or who would be a threat to America. So it's kind of in line with the theme of what we're talking about tonight about making America great again.
Yeah, and when the robot came out, it automatically know who's doing what. So they was like, oh, it's some people with tickets. They got up and walked out. Illegal people. Some people got up and walked out. I don't know. Did it get to sex offenders? I can't remember.
Because the robot basically like was like, okay, the robot senses that there's someone in the room with like a level 1 crime or whatever. Please turn yourself in now, or I'll be forced to have to use.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, but I can tell you about the whole concept of that though. You know, you're the robot. You and your phone.
Who's the robot?
The general population.
Go into that.
Let's you know what I'm saying? So think about it, right? Everybody's snitching on themselves. They transfer all the information to their phones and stuff like that. They post stuff online of them doing stupid shit. That's the same thing as a robot. It's a general brainwasher. They're programming you how to think, how to police yourselves and turn yourselves in.
Interesting. See, that's another perspective that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. But that's actually very interesting.
MK Ultra. You have to do some research on that. Project MK Ultra and Project Mockingbird.
Okay.
Yep. This episode is getting cut off tonight.
Yeah. I mean, we're already getting deep into this. I mean, and it makes sense because we see people posting shit all the time, telling on themselves, incriminating themselves.
I got them pills.
Yeah, because they're programmed to do that. So what they're doing, they're using social media to program the masses. That's like a robot. So everybody think robot and Android, stuff like that. So basically, if you look at the human psyche, the human brain, and stuff like that, there's not too much difference between programming a robot. You just have to show them images and other people doing stuff, and we have a group mentality. You know what I'm talking about? So they're actually programming us to get ourselves in trouble. So that's the whole concept. I get that. I understand that. I'm gonna go watch the movie for that though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's definitely interesting to me. And then I was thinking about, I don't know if you remember, like when we talked about it last week, that whole thing that came up in my training about the whole stereotypes around black men and all that. And then I was thinking about, did you listen last week?
No.
Okay. So basically I was in an implicit bias training, which I'm sure you probably participated in at some point, right?
On both sides. Go ahead.
Okay. And so the whole purpose of that is to try to do away with, or maybe not do away with, but basically make people aware of the fact that we all have these implicit bias. And for those who don't know what implicit bias means, it just means that we all have backgrounds that we bring into life that are going to skew our view about other people. And even though we may not intend to, have these biases or stereotypes or whatnot, it's almost inevitable that we will not have them because we all come from different backgrounds. Right. And so tying that back into the movie, like the fact that the robot police force is even fueled by these stories about black people and stuff kind of made me think about the whole implicit bias thing, because it's like, okay, if you're using these stories that someone else has fed to you as a way to perceive who's a threat, then it's like really your whole perception is based on isolated events and not reality about the fact that we're all individuals, and you shouldn't just look at someone and immediately think, oh, they're a threat just based on them fitting a certain description or whatever the case may be. So it was just so many levels that came just out of that.
But that's what the news is. That's what the news and social media is, right?
Absolutely.
So they take everybody's events and they program it into you. So when you watch that, your brain can't even interpret that from reality.
Right.
Right? Your subconscious. So they'll program it into you. So you're like, oh, you know what? Fuck that. All black people are this or all black people are that. But that's not the actuality. You never had those experiences. But by your brain watching that and you're listening to that stuff, guess what? Your brain interprets that and it creates the bias. So I get what you're saying. That's good.
Absolutely. I mean, I even think about like the
shit is deep.
Yeah, and we barely a few minutes into this. No shots. This is just straight talk, no chaser right here. But you know, and then like I think about like I think we discussed this way back, like towards the beginning when I came about how these videos and stuff that get shared on a regular basis and how, you know, we're thinking, oh, we just gonna share it because it's some funny shit. But somebody in a whole nother country is looking at this and they seeing black women fighting each other, or they seeing, you know, black men doing stupid shit, or kids doing these dumbass challenges and shit. Mm-hmm. And now that's their perception about not just America, but black people in America. It's levels to that. But then, okay, so one of the stories, Good Golly or whatever, they had like this museum of negrosity or whatever. And there's like this white girl and this black girl or whatever, which I thought it was really ironic that they had like the exact same hairstyle. I'm thinking like, okay, is there some symbolism here about the fact that like black women sometimes try to emulate the hairstyles of white women to be socially accepted?
Body shaming.
You know? And then there was like the whole thing as far as like, you know, the white woman is just like talking about these little gollywog dolls and stuff. She's like, oh, you know, I just want one of these little dolls. Like, it just makes me feel comfortable. Reminds me of my childhood and all this stuff like that. And so later on in the movie, like when they get themselves into some shit and then the gollywogs turn into a damn threat, you know, the white woman uses like her sexuality basically to try to get herself out the situation, and she ends up getting pregnant by one of the dolls, and in the end she ends up giving birth to
he smashed it?
Yeah, he ended up fucking her.
The dog,
really?
That's why I thought it. That's why one of the reasons I thought it was. That's why I thought it was corny, because it's a doll that came to life.
A small ass doll turned into like this big ass.
He looked like an overbaked gingerbread man.
No, for real.
A black gingerbread
and
man.
And he banged her.
Yeah.
And her stomach, she got pregnant, and a bunch of little hymns came out.
Right.
So let me get this straight. So basically, they played into all the black man wants to do is have sex with me kind of thing with the white girls, right?
Okay, you could look at it from that perspective. But I actually looked at it from a different perspective. I looked at it about how white women sometimes use their sexuality as a tool against black men. Because it's like, now all of a sudden you're like sexualizing yourself because you feel like you in a situation where you could use this to get out of the situation.
Correct.
And sometimes that may work out like where, okay, shit went cool, but sometimes that could go left because later on they're trying to act like it wasn't consensual, and then next thing you know, that's a whole nother situation. Well, which that ended up coming up in another story, which we'll talk about.
But also they do that too with just having kids. You know what I mean? So they'll have a kid with you or whatever, not work out. Now you got to pay them child support or whatever, and they making out for that. You know, so that,
absolutely.
You know, it's just, you know, it's all around gamut, man. You got. I'm not saying all white girls do that. Don't get me wrong, but you know, there's a lot of them out there. I've dealt with them like that. I could just say, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Good morning. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at me like I'm trying to get at them. You know, so I don't get too fucked about that. I'm not trying to fuck you. I can get girls all I want, but I'm just saying good morning, just being cordial. But their mind's been programmed so much where, oh, he's trying to get at me because I'm white and he's a black male. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I give that with that movie. It's just.
I mean, and then it's kind of like what you were talking about earlier as far as like the implicit bias thing. He said, damn, now I'm glad I missed the movie. Nah, you still need to see it.
Nah, man, missed that movie, man.
You still need to see it. Now, granted, it's a crazy ass movie, but I still think it's worth watching.
That was the goofiest part. They got the goofy bullshit out the way because even the OG one had a little funny bullshit in there.
Yeah, but they could have gone some better than that shit though, man.
Well, that was the first one.
Yeah, they got the bullshit out the way. They got that out the way.
They always jipping us, man.
I was like, yo, because up until that point, it was cool. Like everything they were saying about how the blacks were being misused and all that. Like everything was straight.
Yeah, even like the part when like the black girl ended up getting on the little what you call it, the thing that they used to hold on to when they got whipped or whatever, and she was talking to her friend's brother like, "Oh, you want me to like play like a black little slave girl?
Yeah.
Like, oh, whip me, like, oh, don't hurt me and all that."
So it was interesting up until the big overbaked gingerbread man popped up with the Bojangles suit
with
on.
the shits.
Oh, he got the shits.
No, I said he was. he was with the shits.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Oh, you want to fuck? I'm gonna fuck."
That's what he said?
Well, he didn't say it, but he did it.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing that shit, man. That's a waste of my life, man.
So, and then, okay, the second story was called The Medium, which this one didn't have a lot of depth to it. Basically, like the dude, like, basically got into some white dude's body and, like, but I just thought it was crazy how these black guys were trying to use a medium to get in contact with someone that they killed because they killed the dude before they found out that where the $5 million was that he had. And the medium that they were using was like some white guy. And so when they channeled the guy, he basically took over the guy's body. And long story short, he ended up killing all of them. Okay. And so like with that one, I'm like, okay, well, it made me think about the fact like sometimes black people like will seek knowledge and understanding from white people or white institutions like religion and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why.
So what do you consider like white religion?
What would I consider white religion? Mm-hmm. Christianity.
It's not. I promise you it's not.
Don't get me wrong. I believe in Jesus and I definitely believe in God. But I do know that Christianity has been used as a tool against black people for many years, particularly by Europeans.
It's a Roman tactic. It started back with Rome. Rome used to conquer countries, right? And what they did, they said, well, you have, all these different countries and lands have their own gods and stuff like that. So they said, you can still worship your God, but they'll put Apollo over them or whatever, and they'll put that image on there. So you're actually worshiping the image of these people that conquered you. So pretty much what they'll do, they'll like, okay, well, we're going to conquer you. We're going to fucking kill everybody. The ones we can't kill, we're going to fuck them out of existence. And then your gods that you worship, we're going to make them look like us to kind of make you docile. It's the same thing with Christianity. Mm-hmm. You go back to the Hebrews back like 2,000 years ago, they look more like us than then, you look at the pictures they painted of Jesus and stuff like that. So, basically, you're dealing with institutionalized racism, and it's not the religion.
Okay, that's true. The religion itself may not necessarily be the problem. But I guess my thought was, why is it that us knowing that religion has been used as a tool to try to control us, why is it that sometimes we still go to white institutions to seek knowledge? The black church, in my opinion, is a totally different institution than the white church, even within the same sect of religion, like Christianity or Catholicism.
Yeah.
So when people go to Joel Osteen for answers, I don't understand that. Or if they go to, that I guess that was like, we getting a call already?
Yeah, we got a call.
Who's that?
We got a call. Seriously, Not Another Podcast.
Yo.
What's going on?
Boy, Young Dolomite. What's happening?
What's happening?
What's happening, Dolomite?
Hey,
what's going on with it, cuzzo?
Not much, man. Good to hear from you.
Hey, now, we were sitting there talking about Christianity, and me and you had a talk the other day about your beliefs. Speak on how you feel about Christianity and what you were saying about it.
Basically, my feeling is like this. You don't never really see a really powerful white person ever thanking Jesus for shit. Like, you never hear of a white person that actually has real power that's a Christian. Them motherfuckers gave that shit to us. We thank Jesus for every fucking thing, from the top to the bottom of the black community. But white people, the only rich white people that worship Jesus are pastors. But no real white person with power, not Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, fucking You know, none of them motherfuckers, they never say, you know, thank God for the knowledge. None of that shit. They don't believe in that shit. They let us believe in that shit.
You see, you understand too, man. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at a white authority. You know what I'm talking about? They're not going to thank God for something when they portray themselves as gods. You know what I mean? So it's the whole mentality of that, you know, us, you know, when you look at the Bible, the people look like us. And a lot of us actually have Jewish genes, man.
Yeah, because we the original Hebrews.
Correct.
I get that part.
Yeah, so you know that's originally our religion and our sect, and it's been ripped from us and then reprocessed and given back to us.
Yeah, as the slave religion. Because like I was telling B earlier, like I believe in God. I believe we were created by something. But the form of religion that they gave us, I can't fuck with.
Well, the thing is, you have to read too. That's why they was chasing around Martin Luther. You know what I'm saying? When he started printing out the Bible, you know, like I said, everything is rehashed and given back to you. Even our music is rehashed and given back to us. They pick our artists. They pick what's talent. They pick what's hot and what's not. Everything's taken from us and rehashed and given back to us with their image on it. You know what I'm saying? So you can't blame the religion. You know, so like if you don't boil it down, the actual Christianity is our religion. They talk about us.
But even though you're saying we can't blame the religion, the content comes from the religion. The whole basis of Christianity and Catholicism is the Bible. And a lot of the scriptures in the Bible glorify slavery and submission to your master. It minimizes women's role in the family dynamic and basically, you know, makes it seem like if you're not submitting yourself or giving your money to a certain institution, then you're not.
Well, you understand too with the gender roles. You know, back then it was a little bit different now. You know, so they play into the gender roles. It has to do with society and not actual, like, you know, you're less than a man. They're just saying, you know, this is a family structure, and I understand why they have family structures back then because that's built a society. You know, and I get what you're saying, but Catholicism is actually, and no disrespect to Catholics, that's actually paganism. It's actually what you call warmed over paganism.
And see, I guess my concern is that you and I and Dolly and Ben Reddy could make the distinction that times were different back then, so naturally certain things need to be held in a historical content. But do you realize how many people use exact quotes from the Bible to target groups of people, like homosexuals, black people?
Well, think about it, right?
Homeless
But
people,
that
poor
goes
people.
all over the board. Motherfuckers pick their favorite part of the Bible,
But that's
and they
my
live
point.
by that.
Well,
That's my point,
the thing
though.
is, too, if you look at the Bible, it doesn't say for you to do anything to homosexuals. It doesn't say anything for you to treat them different. Actually, if you look at the Bible, their war was with God and not with people. They didn't say, well, you should do this to them. You should ostracize them.
That's what the Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah,
right?
it has to do with them and God. It has nothing to do with the people that actually believe in the Bible.
But I guess that's my concern when it comes to stuff like this.
You got to read it.
No, I know the Bible very well. I've been
I'm
in
finna
private
say, I used to
school
read the
my
motherfucker all
whole
the time. When
life.
I was kicking it with y'all back in the day, I was super duper Christian man.
No.
Yeah, I know the Bible more than I even chose
Oh, you want the
to,
horn?
you know. But I mean, we don't have to get too deep into this. That was just one of the things that came up in line with the movie. And so then the third one, the date night. This is the one that I want to hear Ben Reddy specifically talk about.
Wait.
Because I
Hold
know,
on,
I
what's
know.
going on, man?
Wait.
Because for those who follow, they know me and him got a little controversy.
Look, this is the whole thing. She and I was talking to my boy Dolly about this. Like,
Hold on.
she for some reason she tags rape and sexual assault to me. I never
He condones rape.
He said my nigga's a rapist.
He condones rape.
Wait, where did that come from?
never have I taken a piece of ass.
But even earlier when we started the show and you just talked about your homie getting head at gunpoint,
I was
and
going.
You just said it so casually, like this was just a part of the story. Like, bro, somebody got fucking raped.
Like I said, I was going.
I already know she was going on that. I seen her face when you said that.
Yeah.
Bro,
Look,
what do you mean?
I said
Like,
that
that's
I
not
was
just a
going.
regular part of the
I said
story?
I found out later that happened. I didn't know it happened there. I
Okay.
got the shit, ran out the crib, The other nigga that was there got out his shit.
So
and
nobody did anything.
What you mean nobody did anything?
So you found out after?
I just found out recently as a grown man.
Oh, okay.
That happened. Like,
right.
as in a couple weeks ago that happened.
Shame on you, man.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking with
But
you, man.
this is the point where it relates to the third topic specifically, which Dolly, you hear, so go on and chime in when you feel the need.
It's not your
but
fault, B.
the date night story is about these two women. They met these dudes online. Dudes online flexing, acting like they movie producers or something like that. So they come to the mansion where the chicks live. They thinking they about to have a little lit session. No problem. They having a great time. The ladies is pouring drinks. Everybody is just vibing. Everything is great. So there's no reason at all why you would think that these niggas would have basically Bill Cosby their asses. And that's what ended up happening. They Bill Cosby the bitches, and like they thought that they was about to sit there and take pictures of them while they were passed out, and then basically take turns fucking them. But come to find out, they were vampires, because when they were looking at them in the camera, they were like not actually there, even though they could see them physically.
You could just see the females was vampires.
The females were vampires.
So they went there to be sexual predators, but they went there and they was actually prey.
Let me get this straight. So these niggas were so stupid that you gotta
drugs and bitches that
already
want to fuck.
And that's
they're on the
my
bed and you take
point.
a picture and they ain't there and you didn't get it going.
It was too late.
Nigga,
it was too late
already.
already.
Fuck out.
But that's
I would just put hands on her.
Again, these stories are very frivolous on the surface, but there's topics within these stories. So one of my questions was, if a dude tries to Bill Cosby a bitch, even though they knew that there was a high probability that they were going to get the pussy anyway, is that still considered rape? And if not, then what is it?
Yeah, that's rape.
Yeah. I mean,
so we all agree that's rape. Ben Reddy's not in his head.
That the bitch is trying to give you, it's still rape.
well, you know, I'm going to put it this way too. You know, I get what both sides saying, but think about it, right? How many people you know take drugs and have sex?
But that's the point.
Is that rape?
So this is my opinion about that as someone who has, you know, been under the influence in the past.
Okay.
When a person, why are we getting horns for that?
She getting hot. Look at that, man.
Right.
Why are you getting horns from that?
Because he's not, he doesn't even condone
getting
the
horns for
turn
that.
up. And I say that, he's like, doo-doo-doo. Like, really, bro?
It's still a turn up is a turn up. No matter when it turn up.
So if I knew, if I voluntarily said, oh, I'm getting loaded tonight and I'm about to have a lit session, my state of consciousness is far higher than if someone threw something in my drink or crushed up a pill in a blunt I thought I was smoking, and then I find out after the fact that I didn't got drugs.
Totally different.
Because
Totally
you're not mentally, but it's not different, because that's exactly what we're talking about. If you ask if someone gets high and has sex, then what's the difference? Okay. If I knew that I was getting high, I was prepared for this high. I was waiting for the shit to kick in. All levels of consciousness are far higher than if someone takes it upon their self to expose me to something that I wasn't prepared for. That's the whole point. I wasn't prepared for it.
Well,
so
it's
like this. Even if a bitch get too drunk at a party, I'm not going there.
Nope.
If you catch a bitch passed out on the couch at a party and you fuck her, you raped her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even if she had every intention to fuck you anyway, once she lost the ability to give you consent, it's like,
once she lost the ability to say no. That's right.
Yeah, you stole free shit. You should have just waited for a motherfucker to tell you it was free before you took it.
I would just throw her out the house.
And so I think that this is like the same argument that people were making with the whole Bill Cosby thing. I heard a lot of people saying like, oh, well, they came over there and they knew they was getting high or something like that.
I think that's different, though.
Knowing that you were going to get high off of, say, some Coke, it's totally different from having some shit thrown in your drink that you wasn't expecting, and now that changed the whole game.
I'm gonna be honest with you, right? He did that back in what, 70s, 80s?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm be honest, okay?
Yeah.
If that fucking happened, lock him the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
He admitted that happened.
Yeah, but honestly, too.
Yeah.
If
he said, yeah, I put drugs in people's drinks without them knowing,
Yeah.
Why is there? Yeah.
But okay. So you want to go there? All right. Let me tell you why. You know what I'm saying?
Because Bill Cosby.
Nah.
And he's black.
No, I don't give 2 shakes. I don't even like the Cosby fucking show. Fuck that. All right. Let's get that shit out of there, man. What I'm trying to say is this, right? What I'm trying to say is this. Back in the 70s and 80s, I find it hard to believe a black man is going to rape a succession of white women and fucking get away with it.
That's how I feel.
Why do you find that hard to
this.
believe?
If they planned on, look, bitch, we finna take these pills and get loaded and fuck, then that's cool. Because my thing is like this. You know how a bitch will turn the story around like, oh, damn, niggas over here passing out checks. I got raped too.
Okay, Dolly, let me give you a different perspective. And I don't want to talk about Bill Cosby every week, but God damn it, this is a controversial topic. So let's say I thought that somebody took my pussy. Like, dang, I don't know how I ended up here. I know I spent the night at the homegirl's house, but I don't remember how I ended up in the living room with my panties on the other side of the room. Like, what the fuck happened? Nobody really knows, whatever. But let's say a month later, somebody's like, oh yeah, I was at the homegirl's house and I woke up and next thing you know, my panties was on the other side of the room. And then I'm like, damn, you know what? This shit happened to me too, but I didn't know what happened. Common denominator, this nigga was at the house. Yep. So it could be a situation like that as well, where like, because your state of consciousness was already altered and your memory is a little sketchy, but you remember bits and pieces. So you may not feel confident enough to come forward like, oh yeah, I was definitely raped. But then when you hear other people rehash something that sounds very familiar to you, and then you're like, you know what? Damn. That shit happened to me too, but like I didn't even really realize at the time that I got raped. But now that I'm hearing other people say that the same shit happened to them and he's the common denominator, now I know for sure I got raped.
But to be honest, too,
so it could be something like that.
Yeah, it can be, right? Like let me bring up another aspect of that, right? Remember all the women that Trump supposedly assaulted?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to them?
Well, I can't say.
I can tell you, the moment he said, "I'm gonna sue every one of you for fucking falsifying shit," they all fucking disappeared. That fucking scares me.
Wasn't no check for them.
Exactly, that fucking scares me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
it was a loss for them.
Exactly. You know, so they'll lose more money trying to get his ass because he has, you know, he's a billionaire supposedly. What I'm saying is that's a dangerous slope. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got people come back like 30 years later. Me too. I want to check. Me too. I want to check. Right. So maybe, yeah. You know what? He probably did it 1 or 2 times. I'm not even saying it might have did it all of them, but for a black man to do that, I don't care if you're a celebrity or fucking not. Back in the 70s and 80s, to white women from prominent families and stuff like that, and nothing was done, nothing was fucking said until now.
Especially because my thing is like this. They said he was doing that shit late 60s, early 70s. He didn't have that fucking show in them days.
Exactly.
He was just a nigga from the funny movies with, what was the nigga name? I forgot the nigga name, but the smooth black brother from back in the day. He was like that nigga sidekick in movies. He wasn't even big Bill Cosby at the time.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier. So if he was raping these bitches back then, he'd have been locked up.
Yeah, that's what I'm not downplaying rape. Don't get me wrong. I can see AC's face over there. She getting wrinkles. She getting wrinkles above her eyeballs. She's getting mad. You know what I'm saying?
No, because you would think the way I've been, you know, rehashing this rape issue that I've been raped and I never have. But it's
a sore spot for you. And I
guess I have an issue anytime someone takes something that doesn't belong to them, but particularly someone's body.
And I totally agree with that.
And, you know, I know a lot of people, male, female, children who've been raped and had different reasons why they didn't come forward. So it disheartens me when I hear people say things like...
That's different, though.
Well, the reason why it's not different to me is because people will always come up with different excuses why they think couldn't be possible that someone did something. When people are getting raped by fucking pastors and shit like that.
What we think got done.
Mm-hmm.
We trying to say that what we think possibly got done might not have got done.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. But that's no different from people who didn't want to believe that the pastor in the Catholic Church would be raping little boys.
Priest.
Oh no, I believe that shit.
Because you would think that someone in that position wouldn't want to jeopardize themselves or do something that they know they could get caught logically. But that's the point. You can't try to apply logic to an illogical situation.
Hey, Dolly, we about to get another phone call in. Appreciate you calling in and chopping it up with us. Hope you continue to listen.
Yeah, I'm on.
Most
All right,
definitely.
Dolly, it's for real, man.
So we have Lavoisier is trying to call in right now.
That'd be perfect because it would be great to have him on during the very last subject related to this, because this is the most controversial one.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to get him on the line now.
She's
Okay.
upset.
Oh, I'm not mad.
You know, man, you just had
I'm
that
very
face.
glad.
You just had
I'm
that
a
face?
thinker. I'm
You're a
always
thinker?
thinking.
Really?
Yes.
I don't do that too much.
Why? What else should I be doing? Not thinking?
No, I'm just enjoying the moment.
I
am.
I gave him the wrong number. I put 323 instead of 213.
Like I don't agree with rape. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying. You know, but like I said, just I see a trend with women. Like, you know, he did this too, and then he did this too. Like even with Terry Crews thing, you know, this happened to me, and it's like a trend. But I said we should be more cautious because there's a lot of people who are claiming stuff that's not really true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Seriously, none of the podcast.
Yo, what's poppin', man? It's Lavoisier here from Grow the Heck Up.
Voss.
Hey, what's
Sorry,
happening?
what's good? It's a pickle.
Hey,
It's a
What's happening? How you guys doing?
all right, yourself.
Good.
What's going on, man?
It's pretty good. Just touching base with you guys. I haven't had a chance to hear and catch up, so I'm jumping in the middle.
So, okay, you want to fill me, man?
Okay, well, right now, we were discussing some symbolism in the sequel to Tales from the Hood, which is on Netflix if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in years. Wow.
Well, this is actually a new.
They made a new one, part 2.
It's a sequel, Tales from the Hood 2.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And so I'm glad that you called in right at the time that you did, because even though you haven't seen the movie, like this last story is the one that I was actually hoping to kind of get your opinion about, as well as Mr. Pickles.
You know
Okay. Well,
Yeah, well, if you don't know it, you know me. It's Ben Ready, AC, and we have a guest in here by the name of
Dill Pickle.
Dill Pickle. He's going by the alias Dill Pickle.
A good
hey,
dope
what's
pickle.
up, Mr. Pickle?
But
What's cracking, man?
hey, baby.
Just chilling.
But what? Okay, so let me just give you the rundown of the story first and foremost, and then we can apply the symbolism, and then we'll tie it into something else that I'll reveal later. So basically, the final story is called The Sacrifice, and it has to do with this Black Republican in Mississippi. Okay, he has a white wife that is pregnant. Okay, and he's basically endorsing a candidate whose name is William Cotton, which I think that's interesting. But he's endorsing this candidate who one of his main campaign pieces is basically to try to close down some of the polls in predominantly Black communities.
Right.
Okay. So the husband, which is the Black Republican, okay, is throwing this event at his house as a fundraiser for this candidate. And so the candidate says, and backstory, the wife has been having these premonitions while she's pregnant of a Black boy who's, in jeopardy of being killed, and come to find out this is Emmett Till, but that's a whole nother story. So long story short, the white candidate says at this Black man's house who's endorsing him, basically, just the fact that we're at this event shows how much times have changed. You see that, such and such is throwing this event at this beautiful plantation home, and he has this white wife. And, there was a time when, he would have been serving the party instead of hosting the party. And his whole statement is, let's take Mississippi back to its core values. And it kind of goes in thing with what we're talking about tonight about Make America Great Again. So fast forward what ended up happening is the wife like totally tripped the fuck out, runs out during the fundraiser, and she's like, "Don't you see him? He's right there." So she's seeing Emmett Till like live in the flesh, but nobody else sees him. And long story short, the white people basically turn on this black guy. You know, because then she totally flips and she's like, oh, basically like making it seem like he raped her.
Yeah, she said he raped her and was keeping her hostage.
Right, that he raped her, even though, which this is the part that's so delusional too, because these people were just acknowledging a moment ago that he's married to her and all that. But just in that brief of a moment, their perception of reality is totally changed based on the fact that she says she's been raped by this man. And then they basically went and got their little version of the Ku Klux Klan and basically...
the Ku Klux Klan was actually the police.
Right.
Out there. They end up being...
okay.
Yeah, they end up being the police.
This is like social terrorism.
Right. And so then the part that I guess was kind of deep for me, which I'll elaborate later as to why this is very relevant to me. So then... now the black guy does see Emmett Till, and so now he's asking him for help, like, you know, help me, like, what should I do or whatever. And like Emmett Till's like trying to tell him, like, well, you know, I have it written down somewhere. Basically, he was telling him, like, we didn't die so that you could have freedom of choice. We died so that you could have freedom to do what's right. Because basically the black guy was saying, like, oh, well, he should be able to have freedom of choice or whatever. Like, he shouldn't have to, you know, just do what black people think he should do because he's black, like he's a Republican and this is what he believes in.
I mean, look, let's. It's crazy for the fact that a black man is trying to get the black vote out of the predominantly black areas. Like, that's nuts. Whether you Republican or a Democrat, that's nuts.
But let's fast forward. So ultimately, the guy ends up dying. He basically decided he was going to be the sacrifice, you know, but based on him, like, you know, looking at Emmett Till and Emmett Till basically telling him, like, yeah, you need to do what's right. So he allowed himself to go on and be the sacrifice. But the message here for me, though, I found it very interesting in two ways, because him saying the whole thing, like, of him feeling like he should have freedom of choice, and Emmett Till having to tell him, like, we didn't die for you to have freedom of choice, we died for you to have the freedom to do what's right, made me think about the whole Kanye situation. Because Kanye's whole thing is like, oh, well, I should have free thought and freedom of choice and all this stuff like that. And another thing that I thought was particularly related to Kanye is the fact that, you know, delusional black men refuse to see reality and they still defend their oppressors and reject the black community. But at the same time, when they want support from the black community, that's usually only when they've been neglected by the white community. And you notice that Kanye, when he's having these rants and raves and shit, you never see Kim Kardashian by his side supporting him.
Of course not.
And I thought that there was some like some, you know, overlap there in that how this lady basically like turns on her husband, you know, publicly. And, you know, now is when he wants to look to the black people like, oh, help me. What should I do? Or looking to them for support, when you didn't give a fuck about that before, when you thought that you was here with these white folks talking about making Mississippi great again and all this shit like that, you know?
So Voss, I hear you. I hear you laughing at certain things. What's your thoughts and what's your take?
It's just interesting. I guess we could jump in anywhere. Okay, so you felt like so, okay, let's take Kanye. When you see Kanye out and about, you feel like Kim Kardashian is not really standing behind him in that sense?
Well, I'll be even more specific. I noticed that historically, white men have done some horrendous things, yet the white women have been by their side through it all. Even when they knew that they were raping black women and all type of shit, they still be there with their man.
That's like a general overall conjecture. Give me some examples. Like, give me an instance.
I don't know particular names of slave owners and their wives, but I've seen several documentations in which there's been Roots being one of them, and 12 Years a Slave
Right,
being
right.
one of them, which these are based on true stories, where you see, you know, the dynamic of the slave owner, his wife, her knowing that he's
Right, and the
fucking
whole family,
slaves,
right? The whole family
and
in on it, no doubt,
right.
no doubt.
So my point is that white women are standing, or even you look at Melania Trump, she's standing by the fucking president, knowing that he's totally fucking insane.
What do you expect her to do?
But my point is that when you see black men with white women, and sometimes they're put in not so comfortable situations, it's very rare that I see a white woman publicly standing behind her black man.
That's any woman, period.
That might be some false equivalency there. Celebrities don't really move around with their spouse, and as a matter of fact, it seems like they're moving pretty strategically. I would say, even with how she was in the president's ear about prison reform first. Mm-hmm. So it seems like they definitely seem to be on one accord in that regard. She was even the reason that got I think that woman Alice Johnson released, and now Kanye's all talking about prison reform. I don't know. It doesn't seem like.
So you're saying let's take a step back. So you're saying that you haven't seen women publicly supporting their husbands during times of crisis? Because I definitely have. Like, for example, I saw Camille by Bill Cosby during the trial. I even saw Kobe Bryant's Latino wife by his side when he was convicted of rape with that Kansas situation.
You think that's programming?
But I don't see Chloe, trying to come to the defense of Lamar. I don't see Kim trying to come to the defense of Kanye.
She was by his bedside.
No, you're unequivocally wrong. Like, Kim Kardashian threw shots at a couple of people that Kanye didn't even throw any shots at. As a matter of fact, she threw a couple of shots at people directly in May and April when people started saying Kanye was crazy for talking that MAGA stuff. She rode. she seemed to put her reputation on the line.
But I think I'm back on what my boy's saying right here, man. You know what I'm saying? You understand too? That's a gender role. You should be quietly backing him up or step by his side and stuff like that instead of being another leader and having a plan, because it's harder to take down two than to take down one.
I'm talking about just visibility. Even I'm not even talking about saying anything.
Give me an example of where when a black man's in trouble, and I'm not saying that. I'm actually wondering how much of it is racial. I like to explore what's racial and what's cultural all the time. So I'm going to ask you, when T.I., did you see like Tiny out there riding or whatever? Like I think what you're saying does seem to amount more to a gender role. Mm-hmm. When you have a huge celebrity, you say Kobe Bryant's wife there because either she got to be or she don't. She's the wife in question. That's infidelity. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the issues you're talking about, even when you talk about Bill Clinton or whatever, all of these are like sexual accusations where the woman either got to be there or not. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of like, if she ain't there, that's a direct implication on his guilt. If she's there, that's a direct implication on his support and forgiveness. Whereas if a dude get caught with guns or whatever, I mean, what's she gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Be at the press conference? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
She's gonna be a J-Lo.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate the exchange because it is thought provoking. But I guess for me, I will admit, like, Kanye said, like, oh, we're family. We're family. Okay. This nigga's not my family, nothing that he does makes me feel like we're family. And furthermore,
he's definitely not my family, but neither is nobody on this call unless I say so. Like I think that's a false idea too, that black people are always like, we are family. Meanwhile, we don't really cultivate family for real, culturally, like we're supposed to.
Well, the problem is we don't know what a family structure is anyway.
Right. Why do you think that is?
We don't know what a family structure is for the most part, or even community structure.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it has to be programming. I mean, we watch, and then I'm going to tell you something, a concept. It's called genetic engineering through pop culture. You're probably not going to hear this. All right, so basically what they're going to do, they're going to put these people out here, right? So you got alpha males, prime females. All right, so if you notice, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s, people had talent. All right, and there's a reason why people dress different in the 60s versus the 70s versus the 80s versus the 90s. It has to do with pop culture. It has to do with prime males, what they watch on TV. It's the same stuff we talked about earlier, right? the alpha males and the prime females. So what they did, they re-engineered what we consider alpha males. That's where you get all the fucking mumble rap from. So now females are targeting motherfuckers that act like that, and are breeding with them. We're breeding a generation of fucking idiots. I'm being real. I see it. I see it on the wall. It's one of the reasons why I'm not in the music industry. I'm being dead serious. It's one of the reasons why I left the music industry. And I was doing stuff like that. I left it and walked away from it because I see where it was going. They're engineering, and it's the same. It's the same thing. The reason why we don't understand what family structure or community structure is because all of our leaders, when you compare yourself to Martin Luther King, when you compare yourself to Pac is like the next King, Pac is like the next Malcolm X, that's bullshit.
Right,
well,
I agree.
I guess, okay, so to elaborate on a conversation that me and Lavoisier were having on Facebook, one of the things that he said that challenged my thought was, because we were, somehow or another, we ended up getting to this discussion of, is my love for black people less, or rather, let me say it exactly how he said it, is my hate for white people stronger than my love for black people?
And I even let you off the hook. I didn't even say hate for white people. I didn't even want to implicate you. I would even let you off the hook with hate.
You said hatred of racism, but we know what that means.
You understand too. This is what I want to run across. It's not just white people. Don't get me wrong. It's culturalism, and that's the thing. Because it's not, if you take a white baby, they're not going to be racist. That shit is taught. That's taught culturally, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I can't say white people are genetically racist. I'm saying that in culture in general, they're taught that they're superior.
Well, I think the reason why we're using the word racism particularly because, the definition of racism is basically if someone has the power to oppress people, essentially. It doesn't necessarily.
No, that's not a dictionary definition. That's how some people define racism.
Dictionary
and I think it's a harmful
or
sociological
definition.
I just want to go on record for that. I think that's a very harmful definition.
Well,
because I could go on YouTube right now and pull up Hebrew Israelites that have white people kissing their boots in obeisance because they're saying the black man is superior according to the first half of the Bible because they believe they're Hebrew Israelites. Now, and now, because of the oppressive dynamics, you got people out here to be like, yeah, that's bad, but it's not racist. I would rather say, personally, it's just me, I say racism is always equally evil. It's just not equally consequential. If you say you hate white people, you are denying them the individuality that you now want. You say, I don't care how many black people did you wrong, judge me as an individual. But white people, you don't get that individuality because of your ancestors. I'm going to deny you that. That's not freedom. That's not equality. That's a bootleg equality that we've learned from white liberals that you have the right to now attack and degrade people who seem to be in some position of privilege.
My man right here.
And it doesn't. And I don't think that advances equality. I think that's like, until we equal, I get to oppress you a little bit.
And nobody's ever equal.
But I hear you though.
Well, I guess the point that I was making, which what you said is definitely valid. But I guess the point that I was making, because we sometimes hear people say, oh, black people can't be racist. You could be prejudiced, but you can't be racist.
Power, right.
And so based on what you said, if in that historical period, the Hebrews happened to be the people in positions of power, then it would apply that they would have been racist versus, the other. If they were utilizing their power to systematically oppress a different group of people, then that is the exact definition of racism.
They're xenophobic.
The sociological definition.
That's a definition of racism that some pro-black people in the 80s and some white liberals adopted. It's not one that I agree with, but it's one that I acknowledge as being socially acceptable. I think it's a bad definition on the record. Let me ask you something. Power to oppress. Everybody's mad at Kanye. Do you think the other rappers in hip hop who control the narrative, do you think that they oppress women?
Absolutely.
Oh, 90% of them, fuck them. I'm not saying.
Right. So what makes Kanye's actions worse? And I'm saying worse by attention. Okay. If you get a cut on your finger and you have a bullet hole in your leg and you're attending to the cut on your finger and never say anything about the hole in your leg, I'm going to assume that where you're giving your attention is where you're prioritizing. So when I ask people, they never say, oh, misogyny is okay. But when Kanye ain't acting a fool, ain't nobody checking none of these dudes.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody saying this is disrespectful to the black woman. And everybody gives you this is where inferiority starts to take shape, in my opinion, to where people fight against white supremacy, but they really do believe they're inferior sometimes. All of these excuses we give to black billionaires and millionaires like they're poor little boys on the corner, as if they're not morally intelligent enough to be like, yo, so look at this Kavanaugh stuff. I was watching that Kavanaugh meeting, and just the level of expectation for even though we know it's all fake, everybody dirty, but the level of public expectation of respect for women in certain cultures. It's like, oh my God, he said he had her in a 3-way. I'm like, homie, that's on Hot 97 and Power 105 right now, unedited.
Exactly.
Why are the values so low for our community and culture? But when you skip over, and then you got black women, you got Black Lives Matter women marching with these guys like Stop Kavanaugh, and I'm like, homie, you better go check Future or something like that. Like,
can I respond to that?
Oh, wait! Don't
I
say
want to
Future.
respond to that.
Well, that's that like they call genetic engineering through pop culture.
No,
they put those people in place, and we follow them.
Let me tell you why I think that's different.
Fuck Future.
And I'm going to also tell you that, and I'm going to also say shout out to OG Iso, because we also had a conversation where he was also saying, why is it that the same people who were kicking it with Trump back in the day and shit are now all of a sudden talking shit about him? Basically, he feels like they're trying to...
They're the same as him, and they just don't like it when it's on a white man in power, but go on.
I'm going to tell you what I think it is. I think that the standard and expectation on someone who is an elected official is higher than on a rapper. So, for example, someone who's
only when they think he's racist. Because when Bill Clinton smoked weed and get head, we celebrate him as a hero, like the degenerate.
He's the first black president. He's the first black president. Fuck people that said that.
Come on now. We say it's high. We say it's a higher standard until it's some cool ratchet stuff. Then we like, yeah, that nigga the man.
Exactly.
Well, I could definitely see where you're going with that. I don't agree.
Oh, you have to.
I don't agree with that because I never glorified shit like that. Even though I was very young when Clinton was in office.
Fair enough.
I never glorified that. Maybe the fact that he played the saxophone, but all that weed smoking shit, no.
He also passed the law back then. Let me tell you how, like, people got to watch both sides. Like, I'm kind of glad Trump is in office. I'm going to tell you why. Because all the racists came out. Everybody didn't give a fuck now, but, they're doing all type of racist shit. Now, I want to see that shit that's behind the veil because the Democrats are real good at hiding shit. And the liberals are real good at hiding shit when they do a lot of racist shit. He actually passed a law. Bill Clinton passed a law. If you actually got caught smoking weed in high school, you didn't get a scholarship. You didn't get financial aid.
I didn't know he passed that law.
Oh, yeah,
he was smoking weed.
Oh, fuck yeah. But they'll smile in your face. A lot of people don't even know why they even had the little weed cards, the medical marijuana. Mm-hmm. Like people don't understand that. That's actually designed to take guns away from minorities. Because when you apply for a gun, you have to go through a background check, and that background check goes federal, and it goes to our government, which recognizes marijuana as a class 2 whatever type of drug, right? You get denied.
It's still classified as 1.
Correct.
It's still Schedule 1 on federal.
There we go. It's still Schedule 1, and guess what? You get denied having a legal firearm.
Hey, young Dolomite in the message boards. He said Trump is the first nigger president.
See, why you got to be a nigga?
Here's what I would like to. Sis, what's your name? I forget. Remind me.
AC. But can I just say one thing though before you say that because I didn't get to finish my point.
Go on.
People who kicked it with Trump when he was the host of Celebrity Apprentice, kicked it with him and, thought he was a shit based on him being that individual. But when you put someone like that in a position to be the president of the United States, and now he's representing the best interests of the U.S. and supposedly people who don't even have the right to speak for themselves, that threshold is far higher than who he was when he was the host of Celebrity Apprentice. So in other words, if I kick it with Ben Reddy and that's my boy, just off the rip, but now he becomes president, my expectations of him are far different now that he's president versus when he was just co-host or the host of Seriously Not Another Podcast.
And I get what you're saying.
So I don't think it's fair for people to say, oh, well, these people were kicking it with Trump then, and now all of a sudden they want to act like, whatever. I mean, when someone is putting energy out there about make America great again, the connotations of that are implying that he wants to take us back to the time where we were enslaved and where, black people knew to stay in their place and all that. Those are just the implications, because if that's not, I want to know exactly what he means when he says make America great again.
I can tell you what he means. I
could tell you some possibilities, some of which are racist, but I could also tell you, and again, I'm not a Trump apologizer like I'm defending them, but I know black conservatives that are like, I was always taught these people were coons growing up, and then you realize like, oh shoot, they just regular black people with different views. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole idea that we all got to think the same is very short memory we have, because Malcolm and Martin did not agree. And if you ask somebody which one of them was the coon or the sellout, some people might say Martin because he was passive, but people might watch their mouth a little more. Whereas today, you can't think different. And the thinking is straight from white liberalism. It is not rooted in black thought. It's not rooted in black history as far as I can tell. So now let's take the standard thing. In some sense, I got to respect that. Like my buddy that I hang out with and drink on the weekends, like when he becomes president, I'll be like, dog, like I might see you different if you're doing wild stuff. So I think that's absolutely fair. But there's another side of that says values are values, and that a pimp is a pimp and a bad guy is a bad guy. And so maybe they're justified in not accepting Trump as the president because of what he does. But what does that say that Trump represents everything else that we are, that these guys who lead our community are? Show me something that's in Trump that's not in hip hop culture predominantly. This ain't back in the days where De La Soul and Coogee rap, a little bit of positive, a little bit of gangster. This stuff is out of control. DMC said he said he did more weed, drugs, and alcohol than anybody. He said, I never put it in my records because I had grown men, the hardest dudes ever, coming up to me like, y'all went to college because you put it in a rap. That's freaking DMC. This whole fake idea that our culture is not influential, like Jay-Z didn't say, oh, I don't wear jerseys. The whole freaking culture, grown men took off their clothes and put on something different. And then we act like it's just music, but we pump this music to our little kids, got them acting as niggardly as they want to be.
Same shit I've been saying.
So now I guess my question is, why are these values okay though? Like at some point I respect, like, yeah, you're right, higher call for the higher office. But like hip hop is Trump's worst moments every day. Like the worst thing you can hear Trump saying on tape, hip hop says that every day on all our radio stations, pumped out to all our kids on the way to school, every way you turn. Why? Why is that okay?
Well,
can I answer that real quick? I don't want to cut you off. I just, I totally 200% agree with that. But people understand too, when Trump was a billionaire and he wasn't president, those are the same people that still fucking run the country. They hire lobbyists and stuff like that to pass laws that's going to benefit them. They didn't fucking change. Everybody it's the same thing. It's the same values, the same what you call it. Now you become president. Now everybody know what his fucking values are. Now everybody wants to fucking hate him. Well, you got the same fucking rappers or same fucking elite people. Because I used to run elite people. I used to work in a corporate office. I made more money than most people. And I used to work for Kyocera. I used to work for Kyocera Corporate. I used to wear suits and stuff all day long. I used to run with elite people. I even married into an elite family. To be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? A while back. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the way these motherfuckers think. It's about alphaism. It's about dominance. They don't give two shits about race. They don't give two shits. They can fucking turn a profit off that shit, and it's the same people passing the fucking laws.
Yo, and AC, please, I want to hear what you think, man.
Even just the last statement he said, they don't give two shits about race, but by default, not caring about race and participating in colonialism is still about race. I mean, when you dominate,
we're still in colonialism.
Exactly. That's my whole point. When you use your power as a white man to basically take over somebody else's shit, by default, it still becomes about race, because those people that you just fucking colonized were underprivileged people of whatever nationality. But besides that point, I just want to get back to what he was saying with regards to the standard with the president versus rappers. And I agree.
Right.
Not to say that rappers are by any means, the most honorable figures, but I will say that we all know that in life, we may have two sides. We have our corporate side, and then we have our comfortable side. So in other words, when I go to work and I conduct myself as the, administrative professional that I am, I'm not going to conduct myself in the same way that I would conduct myself as the ratchet girl at the Drake and Migos concert. And I'm the exact same fucking person. So the point is that when you know that you are in a certain position and you're expected to behave a certain way, the people who put you in that position are expecting you to do that. Versus when it's your own personal time, or even if your profession is to be comical, to be a stripper or whatever, if you're in a profession where your role is to put people in the comfort zone to be that off the clock person of, I don't have to put on this, professional role. Now I could be the person who want to take a shot, get a lap dance from a stripper, whatever the case may be. I don't think that they're even equivalent.
But I want that.
They're not equivalent.
Are you saying that? To be clear, so you're saying they're just being their off the clock person, and that's what they're paid to be?
My point is that rappers are basically a representation of what people choose to be at times when they don't have to have the same level of responsibility that they do in their regular day-to-day life.
And you know what? And if you know Ben Ready, then you probably heard of Bizzle, and you probably heard of a bunch of our friends who rap their real life, and their husbands and their fathers and their dads, and they don't want to turn up, and that's their real life, and that's what they rap. See, it depends on what you believe, man. I believe that there's a parable in Jewish literature. It's in the Bible. Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Let me ask you guys something. If a white rapper rapped, white supremacist raps, and he snuck them in his raps every once in a while, would you guys still be comfortable listening to him? And if not, why? If a white rapper snuck little white supremacist, not even snuck them in, but every once in a while he would say something racist in like two bars out of every 2 or 3 albums or something like that, would you guys still rock with him?
I wouldn't rock with him, but I'm certain that there is a large group of people who probably would.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people would. They'd be like,
I'm pretty sure that happened already anyway.
Right. Just like there's people who probably don't rock with some of the stuff that Future, Tupac, whoever is saying, but there's several people that do.
Right.
But it's entertainment. It's entertainment.
And that's my point. You can't expect the entertainer to be held to the same standard as the fucking president of the United States. It's like we're comparing apples to oranges.
It's funny. It's funny that we say entertainer right now. If our culture wasn't so monolithic and one-sided, I would give that more credibility, more credence what you're saying. But we know that our entertainment culture is a real life reflection of our culture in a different way. Music has always meant more to us in this country.
Because it has to do with slavery.
We used it to get free, wade in the water and all that kind of stuff. It's always been deeper for us as Black people in America. So we could throw the entertainment line out there, but we all know that credibility is important in rap. And the idea, the expectation is that you got to be like real. And I'm not, these days you could be whatever and get past, but there's still a taint on your record. So even the assumption is a little bit different about hip hop, that it's supposed to be real. So I feel you that they entertainers, but these are not just entertainers to Black people. These are the values of our culture.
So let me counter that then, Lavoisier. Let me counter that. Because everything you guys are saying is definitely merit-based as well. But I guess my concern is that you guys fail to identify the role that colonialism, white supremacy, racism, people like Donald Trump have played in shaping the things that are being said by some of these rappers. Even the people who are oppressing women, they saw that shit when they saw slave owners fucking oppressing our women, and that's just been passed down traditionally. when the black family institution has been fucking systematically broken up, and now males are basically being pushed out of the home. That shit has shaped how men have feelings towards women. The whole thing of, you know, opportunities not always being given to certain type of black men, and now they've created their own opportunities through the trap lifestyle. Now that's being a result of certain things that have occurred. Mm-hmm. So my point is to say that it's very easy to point the finger at rappers and say, oh, y'all are talking about all this horrendous shit, but we still fail to acknowledge that even this conversation that we're having has shaped that music, and all they're doing is basically being the voice of certain people who have now become the product of all this shit.
AC, I love that. I got talks on my YouTube channel about 11 ways the government helped create the wealth gap. Like how many? 5 KKK presidents, and you know what? 3 of them were, I think 3 were Republican and 2 were Democrats. So even when people be talking about which party was the most racist, I'd be like, it ain't never been good. So I'm hip to that. But there does come a point where, and again, I'm from the projects. When I talk to brothers about what broke up the family, most brothers tell me like the FBI, government, the same thing you just said, right? If in 2018 you still saying that, and you got 1 million or 1 billion, and billions is like up there. Like Yeezy's a billionaire, Jay pushing it, Diddy push it. Like it's billionaires in hip hop. And so to still have that mindset, then hey, you're entitled to that. But at this point, I can't say it's because white people did it. It's because you know, because we glory in being our own man in this culture. So we can't have all of this. I'm a boss. I'm my own man. I do what I want. I think for myself. I don't follow nobody. That's for hoes and all of this kind of stuff.
I hate the word
and then
boss.
when we're having the social commentary, it's poor little gangbanging millionaire. The white man got your mind, and you know what you are. You are inferior.
Yeah,
well.
If in 2018, you got a phone in your hand, you fly to Dubai, you're on jets, and you still think this mentality is helpful, you choose not to read. Listen, people die so we can go to school. All you watch is World Star video. Like, look, if that's who you want to be in 2018 with all your money and all your culture, you're hanging out with all these people from different walks of life, black people, and this what you still want to feed our people?
But that's the point, though. That's the whole point is that, do you realize that even shit like that, the ignorance that we're seeing today, is still a product of the whole shit being fucked up from the beginning.
Well, then here's the thing. Then we got to cut white people some slack, because if everything is a product of everything else, and no one has the ability to see in the moment that the morality, but we don't treat each other like that. You know why? When a black person do us wrong, and I don't know what all our ethnicities are, who's mixed or whatever, but when somebody we know does us wrong, we don't blame the circumstance of their lives. We don't say because you're in a wheelchair, because you didn't have a father, because your mother. We may know that's the reason they messed up. But when somebody in our family on drugs steals something, we know it's the drugs, but we still mad as hell at them.
And we fuck them up.
And we still expect a certain level of responsibility and awareness for their morality. We don't treat people one-on-one like, oh, you a grown man, 35, 36, 37 years old, 40 years old, but you just don't know no better. We'd be like, again? So, but when we have this social commentary, there's this rush to protect as if we don't know that they're
I would almost argue that it's the opposite. I see far more people within black families defending behavior of their counterparts than what you just said. I see a lot of black women making excuses for the black men in their families. I see a lot of...
I got you. Let me clarify. Let me clarify. To the outside, absolutely. But I also think that that's the, what do you call it? The nigger, the nigger, the slave master and the nigger, the pimp, and the whole dynamic that you see at work in hip hop shows up in a lot of our other relationships. Mm-hmm. It's also one of the reasons why I think we yell at celebrities so much, because we treat each other with an ownership type mentality. And it's not just black people. You find that in poverty. There's a guy named Alex de Tocqueville. He did a study on Appalachians, on some white folks, toothless dudes in the Appalachians or whatever, and found out that a lot of their habits that grew naturally into their culture mimicked a lot of the same, he marveled that it mimicked a lot of the same behavior as African Americans in the quote unquote ghettos and whatnot. So some of this stuff is just based on what it freaking cultivates. Sometimes I joke with people and be like, yo, you know, Aladdin was poor in the movie, right? They'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, what was he doing? Stealing. Look, where there's oppression and poverty, you're going to have what those that are not in poverty call crime. But there's a difference from stealing just to eat and then glorying in being this thing. And our culture right now is teaching our young kids how to glory in being a low life, how to glory in not giving an F, how to glory in not working hard. So we're at a different point from doing what we have to do. It's again, like with the female rappers, and I'm gonna wrap up and kind of let you guys give me some feedback. But even with the female rappers, they don't listen. I know Cardi had to do what she felt she had to do. I can always respect that. But I've been discipling people for 10, 20 years as a regular guy in the ghetto. You know what I mean? And people look at people like me, maybe because I'm on my Twitter timeline as quote unquote attacking people, not understanding I'm defending lives in real life. And I don't got no $1 million to put out a message. I'm just working with kids in the ghetto after school or trying to raise my own daughters and give her game on what Cardi B is and what she's not. And I am speaking for those fatherless kids that we say, okay, yeah, it's a product of white supremacy. Yeah, that's why the hell I'm out here being a daddy to a bunch of kids that I ain't father. Because these niggas won't. And they got millions of dollars, a bunch of influence, and they hang with Barack, and they hang with Michelle, and they hang with Oprah, and they hang with this one and that one, and they still sell pimpin', murder, sell drugs. Get the F out of here. Get out of here. Yeah. Straight up. Nah.
Go ahead, speak on.
You know, that people understand there's a construct, you know, and I'm going to say they know we're a monolithic society. They know that from slavery, the reason why we transferred information, we taught information through song, and that carried on because we weren't allowed to read and write. They know this. And I talk to people who they know this. So to drive the prison complex, to drive the law enforcement, to create jobs and stuff like that, they have people out there set up to get you to think a certain way. Remember I told you, like, you did in the beginning, like they say, well, that's the robot you want to program? That's the same shit.
Listen.
You're the fucking robot. Like we are the robots they're actually fucking programming by using these people they're putting out there. You know, and brother, even speaking of programming, when I used to listen, a lot of the things that I'm saying, I will admit to you that when I used to hear people say it, I didn't understand it. I would use words like sellout, coon, like when people say not everything's about race, for instance, right? So we know that there are white people who have a blind spot. Like, and it's hard to define racism in this society because it was built on that kind of confusion. You got men here who are saying all men are creating equal while having a group of human beings who's made in the image of God, just like everybody else, be integrated as not men. Correct. That's a foundation of confusion of value. And I think that, you know, Willie Lynch letter, I don't think it has corroboration, but I believe the principles are real. There's that meeting in the industry, that letter going around. That might have happened, but I can't corroborate the letters, anonymous, whatever. Principles are real if you've ever seen those letters about the conspiracy against hip hop. It's like I used to train guys to act a certain way when I was in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Brother, what you kicked to me about the music industry is not like it's a secret or something.
Yeah, but
right?
I'm saying,
it's like people just love. The Bible says in the last days, people will be lovers of themselves.
Yeah, but
and you know what? While I acknowledge to my sister that Donald Trump is a different level of expectation because he sits in the seat of president, that's not what I've ever taught my household, though.
He's the same dude.
Like, my standard is whatever standard I would want anybody who live of the highest caliber to be. Now, I may fall short of it myself, so I should judge humbly, but there is none of that like, oh, yeah, I expect more from you than I expect from myself.
Correct.
No, there's no behavior. Like, I'm always on my highest self.
Let me ask you
or trying to be. And our culture is just so we're perpetuating things that are reproducing white supremacy every day. And and one of the biggest harmful things is not just what white people do to us, but what they did to us that's already programmed. All of our, white people, the things we don't buy.
Man,
oh, wow.
I heard it coming. I heard it chopping up.
Well, this was one of the questions I had, which I'm sad that he's gone and hopefully he's still listening. But one of the questions I have is, why is it that, you know, I mean, I guess no one's failing to also identify the fact that the people who we're talking about in hip hop who are saying these horrendous things, which let's say it's 30 of them, that's 30 people in the whole world. I can't imagine that there's not other rappers who have relevant messages and stuff that they want to get out to the world, but they're not always the ones that get signed because the people in power who own the music industries want to push the messages of the bullshit. Well, they don't want to give record deals to people who are trying to.
Well, it's some that sign, and even in today's time, you don't have to really be signed because you can do it independently. But they're out there, but they're frowned upon because they music is not quote unquote pop, and they not in the club. They can't nobody dance to it, can't nobody do this to it because don't nobody want to listen to a message. Everybody say all the time like, oh, like I can't. Okay, for instance, Kendrick Lamar To Pimp a Butterfly album. Dope album. Everybody's like, yo, I'll listen to it one time and then it's it.
Who said that?
A lot of people in the industry.
I've never heard
a lot of people
say
listen to that. They like it don't have no replay value because the beats are not bumping. Ain't no 808s going on.
I've never heard that.
So,
I've actually heard
definitely.
the opposite. I hear people like constantly saying like they wish that there were more artists like Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole, people who are speaking something of relevance. But I'm not convinced that there's not more artists like that exist. I just think that the music industry chooses to invest in the ones that are portraying the overall message that they want to get across.
And that's the thing. It's about elites. They don't.
It's about what?
Elites. They don't give a fuck about what race you are. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm gonna tell you the whole thing. If you break it down, blacks was the cash crop. That's all we are to them. Now, if there was Irish in the same place, Irish would be the fucking cash crop. Now you got Mexicans in the same place; they're the fucking cash crop. That's why everything is like bilingual. That's why everything's bilingual. You have to speak because it's a fucking cash crop. They don't give two shits what color or race you are. They give about.
Answer.
Hello?
Seriously, not another podcast.
What it do, being ready?
What's going on?
What the fuck is this?
Listen, I've been listening to y'all, and it sounds real choppy and real not direct. Like, do y'all realize? What's the young lady on your show? What's her name?
AC.
Hi, AC. Look, this lady A, and I'm being ready, homegirl. So listen, here's the thing, right? Old dude that was on before, absolutely on point. There is a thing called being desensitized. A lot of the things that I hear you saying to me are your typical Google. Let's just be honest, your typical Google shit. Like it's stuff we can Google and find out in its space. I don't feel like the opinions that are coming out are fact-based off of personal.
Are you talking to me or?
I'm talking to her in regards to you. What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name is
Pickle.
Pickles.
Mr. Pickle.
Yeah, my name is Pickle.
Mr.
Oh,
Pickle.
just Pickle. My bad. Listen, like the whole point of y'all, I started listening when he texted me, told me to listen, and I was listening when you guys were talking about the Tales from the Hood too. I'm the one who told Ben to watch that movie because I couldn't believe like what was that I was watching. The fact was dude was not asking the character that was playing Emmett Till to help him. He was actually going against it. The whole point that Ace, I think that's her name, that
AC,
AC, when he said that he had a choice and they didn't die for the choice of him, for him to have a choice, but they died for him to do what's right. On point.
Well,
you nailed it.
Wait, lady,
Let her finish.
hold on. We
Can't
gonna hold on. We gonna do this. He hung up. Okay, go ahead, lady. Go ahead, finish.
No, so what I'm saying was, I was like, I was taking you the whole time because, I mean, you guys have gotten so far further in conversation, it's just too much to backtrack. But my whole point that I wanted to say was, when it comes to the rape situation and not being able to believe people and things like that, and I'm with, I think it's Pickles. He was on point. Like, it's hard to believe sometimes being a woman who has been in that situation where assault has been granted on me. No, I didn't say anything. Why? Because I was in a position where I didn't feel like anyone would believe me because, number one, he was my boss, a superior to me. And then number two, he used the date rape drug. How the hell could I ever prove that? The only way that I would have ended up having proof it was the result in my pregnancy. Right? So then now I would have had something to combat. Look, but then even then it still would have been a battle.
Right. They would have said it was
everyday
consensual.
Interaction. Right. Because people were like, well, no, she works with him and da-da-da-da-da. We don't know. And you know what I'm saying? So the fact that whole Kavanaugh thing that played out like a circus on TV, to me was nothing more than political hype to remove us from an agenda that was taking place behind the scenes. I don't think people realize how many bills and policies were underhandedly being passed and slid through in Congress where folks our governors and people who are already in position just been signing their life away on stuff, right? So I just figured out today in my own city, our person, Dr. Shirley Weber, Governor Jerry Brown just signed 13 of her things to pass forward, to move forward, with the bill so that it can pass forward, which is amazing, which is good. But think about them other states where their people, the odds may not be in favorable of minorities or people of, you get what I'm saying? Like, we focus on, people get so hung up on the small things that we never look at the whole bigger picture overall. And that's how we get caught up in these tabloids and reality shows and really the stuff that don't even matter. So it takes a person to have to be very intellectual to actually do the research, go on a little journalist mode, look behind the scenes, and figure that stuff out. And that's what led me into the whole Kanye thing. I hear where you was coming from, baby girl, but I think it was a strategic move. And to say that Kim, I was trying to find my text that I sent being ready when you said it. No, we have a sense of entitlement when it comes to these celebrities and people who make more money than the average. We feel like we're entitled to know their every move, their every step, who they in front of and who they're not in front of. When you say that, when Kanye's going on these rants and things, where is Kim in there? Why would Kim present herself before the masses of maids when she can be behind the scenes with the president? She don't feel like it's important enough to come where the TMZ and the shade rooms and all that. I'm here to support my man. And nah, she getting at the people that she know can make an influence and that can combat her at the bank. She don't care about you, me, and the average Joe Blow that own a restaurant or a store. Or she don't care about that. But we seem to be the ones that's so upset, so high strung on why we don't see them. Why are they leaving our men behind? And I don't care nothing about that. The bottom line is the job getting done? Not to say I'm a Trump supporter, because I'm not. Is the job getting done? Are things going to be changed? Kanye was able to accomplish something that Prince had been trying to accomplish for a very long time in the music industry. How was that? Nobody can answer that. Everybody, Kanye doing something. I said, do y'all realize that's what Prince was fighting for all those years?
That's because Kanye was willing to go sit down and have that conversation with him.
What president was like, bring Prince here, or the artist formerly known, and let me really hear his point of view and why this music thing is so important about music writers and producers and things like that, getting their proper royalties.
Exactly.
And not having to squander their lives away so that other people can get rich and stay rich in the industry while rappers make them millions of dollars just to look good in a video. But everybody now, he's still out here cool. And the thing is about the Make America Great Again, he keeps reiterating, it's not about making America great again. I just want to make America great. But we don't hear that. It's the same like people get on Kaepernick. It's not about we keep reiterating, it's not about the flag. He never said it was nothing about the flag. But that's what they're going to spew because it takes away from what the real instance of he's saying. No, it's about the injustice that's being done to Black males in America at the hands of police brutality. So the same way we do it The same way they do it is the same way we do it to our own. I don't think that Kanye is on a spiel about he want to make America great again and he on this whole Trump is my friend and that. I think that man is strategically using his quirkiness, slight mental illness to accomplish the end goal. And part of it is not because Kanye really just wants to do it because he's Kanye. You have two narcissistic men who are collaborating to accomplish their own end goals. Mm-hmm. Trump wants to be that president that everybody likes and look what I did for everybody. Kanye wants to be that man to say, look what I did for myself. And it just so happens that we're benefiting off of it, or those who are in that position or same line of framework is that man will benefit from it. And that's all I want to say.
I appreciate everything that you had to say.
It's good. It's good to have female callers in. And excuse me. I think a lot of more stuff would get done. I was talking to my boy about how Jay-Z stopped Meek Mill from going to sit down and talk with Trump about prison reform as well. Because Meek Mill is under Jay-Z's management. So there's a bunch of people, or black people, I should say, that can go sit down with this guy, but they won't because they'll end up being called a coon or whatever the case. And stuff. All you got to do is have a conversation. I know it's been a thing where people say, well, it's just the front, it's the photo op, it's this and that, but we won't know. I'd rather them go try and see what happened than them just saying the cop out is that's BS. It's just for the media. There ain't nothing gonna happen.
I mean, I still am not convinced that Kanye, or that there's not some agenda as to why Kanye is being put in this position to have these conversations and kind of make a fool of himself in the perception of some people's eyes. I think it also goes in line with what she was saying earlier too. Like, part of the agenda is to distract people from the other stuff that's happening that they don't want to bring attention to. Like, even a lot of stuff that Trump is doing.
Trump just cut ties with another ally overseas, and people don't even realize the damage that's about to do. Like, people don't even realize, it's like, wow. The more allies he cuts and the more that his narcissistic behavior gets in the way of just pretty much letting stuff be cool, people don't realize if he has up to 3 countries that decide to cut ties and they decide to arise in war with America, we are done. Don't let Japan be like, oh yeah, we about that life too. We done. We absolutely done. I'm moving. I'm letting y'all know right now I'm on the boat.
Where are you going?
Look, if the water blow up, at least I can swim. You know what I'm saying? But people are not paying. And that's what I say. I tell my kids every day, I work with youth and you know, Ben know what I do. I'm a counselor. My thing is, you have to have a mind for yourself. You have to be able to think for yourself. And if it makes sense for you, to you, and it's for you, don't let me persuade you. Don't let nobody else persuade you. Don't let nobody else tell you that you're wrong. Because I believe each individual has the tools and the gifts that they need implanted in them to succeed, whether it goes against the grain of what you like, he like, or she like. And if more people operate in individuality and stop trying to fit in with the crowd, or I need to be in with the in circle, imagine what this world would be like if everybody stayed in their lane, operated in their gifts, and executed it with like so much excellence that can't nobody touch them. We have a bunch of millionaires running around here in the hood, because that's where most of the inventors come from anyway.
It wouldn't be a hood anymore.
They don't get that far.
What'd you say?
It wouldn't even be a hood anymore.
No.
In that part. You know how many shoe designs come out the hood?
Clothes, all kind of stuff. Shoot, it's computer engineers coming out the hood.
Absolutely.
That part. Do you know what it's like for a school to tell a kid, we're gonna call your counselor up here, and your counselor walk in with some Jordans on and some jeans and a cut off sweatshirt, and I may put on a hat if I don't feel like combing my natural hair. And they looking like, are you the parent? Are you the, no, I'm the counselor. You call, what? Yes, ma'am. Can we use this office? Like, they not expecting that. And that's what I'm saying. You got to hit people where they not expecting it. And I think the biggest problem, and I could say this because I am a Black woman, the biggest problem that Black people have is we talk too damn much. We gotta tell everybody everything, especially when it's something we feel ain't nobody else got a hold to. And when we talk, when broke people talk, people with money quietly listen because they're gathering all the information they need to go execute your dreams, your ideas, your values, your goals, your morals, your soul, your life, and bring it to fruition while you sitting back, only to walk in the store to buy the same thing that you created in the first place. How stupid is that? How dumb is that?
Well, hey,
I've seen it. I've seen it.
You've seen people create something and somebody steal it?
I'm telling you right now, I watched somebody, kid you not, I had an idea, right? Like, I'm going to be a counselor. I kind of like one thing about being a counselor, like you are. Same dude, went to school, became a counselor, started saying the same stuff I'm saying.
Took your whole.
The whole stilo, everything I'm doing. I even train kids in like 4 a.m. They show up before school. I train them because they want to go to the military and stuff like that. And I have a bunch of kids goes like, Marines and Spec Ops and stuff like that. And this guy, guess what he's doing now? He's working out with the soccer team at 4 a.m. Everything I do, he does. Right?
That shouldn't even shake you, Mr. Pickles. That shouldn't even shake you. Let me tell you why. Because can't nobody do you better than you. I don't give a damn if 5, 6 other people try to emulate me and go out and do how I do and vibe with the community and the kids and the adults like I do. I'm so confident in me because I am me. When you are who you are, can't nobody shake or break that. So I don't care if they emulate and try to copy because that's exactly what it is. People know real when it steps in front of their face. You don't have to memorize you. You are you. Other people who try to emulate you, they got to try to memorize and remember, well, how did he say he was going to do that? Well, what did he say he was going to do there? Oh, let me do it. And it's not going to be authentic. So I wouldn't even sweat, old buddy. Oh, well, who gives a damn? Do you? Even if it almost looks exactly identical, because what will happen is your authentic self will stand out before any fraudulent person. Always. Remember that.
I receive that. I appreciate that.
Well, Lady A, we appreciate you. We appreciate you calling all the way from Southeast.
You had a moment.
You want to
he over here getting all teary-eyed and shit.
Oh, teary-eyed. Ow. Now she just hit me out with paper.
Hey, you want to plug? You want to plug your situation you got going on down there? With
Hey, look! Every Saturday, 3 to 4, Lady A Crown Conversations. I'm on Accelerated Radio, and this whole month of October, I'm on the subject of rejection in family, relationships, in the professional world, and even with friends. And it ain't got real. People breaking down on my mics and everything, and I'm like, hold up, it ain't that kind of show, but yeah,
and,
get it out.
when do the show air? And what time? What
Saturday,
day? What time?
3 to 4.
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday, 3 to 4 on Accelerated Radio, iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Google, all that other stuff.
What's the name of the show again?
Crown Conversations.
Crown Conversations.
Crown Conversations. I always put the crown before the mic, meaning I'm always consciously aware of what I put into the atmosphere when I'm on my mic.
Okay, well, Miss Lady, I appreciate you calling in.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to hear an intelligent lady say something about you, and I appreciate that.
Lady A is truly a Southeast legend. If y'all familiar with
you better stop.
Southeast San Diego represent.
Listen.
Hey, that's funny. Well, I appreciate you calling in. Hopefully you keep listening. We got a little bit more before we get up out of here. But yeah, thanks for calling in.
I keep listening. Y'all keep doing great work.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
you know, it's funny that me sitting here like soaking up all this stuff. Like you learn so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but this show is dope as fuck. Like this show been going great, and the way I sit and orchestrate this joint, you know what I'm saying? Like AC is, you know, a wonderful co-host. She's a savage with it. She's a savage.
I don't like her.
And
whatever, he loves me secretly.
And to get to get the other pieces as far as Pickles, it's funny calling you Pickles, but pause. Pickles and
sour pickle.
Lavoisier and Lady A. No,
sour pickle
don't bring up sour.
Sour pickle lost his ride.
No, that.
Ooh, he tried it. Wait a minute. Wait, whoa. Y'all didn't catch
y'all.
that.
We appreciate y'all for listening tonight. We up out. We still got a little bit left.
No, and Lady A came through, and you know, definitely that was a nice close to the conversation. And you know, I'm one of those people. Look, I love when people challenge me to think in a different way. I know that my thoughts may be totally outlandish at times, and I know sometimes it may come off as if I'm defending fuckery, because sometimes I do. But I like to be challenged. Everything that everyone has said tonight, Pickles, Lavoisier, and Lady A, I appreciate all that, because like you said, it gives me something to take back and reflect on. And that's what the whole purpose of this is. It's like, it's not for everybody to agree. It's just a platform to express different perspectives so that people can think for themselves.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that we ain't took no break. You know what I'm saying? Like, this show has been that great. We usually take a break. Well, we ain't had no reason to take a break. Ain't no drink. Ain't nobody got to use. Ain't nothing hookah like nothing. But a conversation is always to be had about anything. You can sit and have a conversation, and you can have a certain view, and you sit down, and you might see a side of something. And that's what the whole point of that. I think people should just try to have a conversation with your boy Trump. Even though Trump is on the bullshit, you still have to try and have a conversation. You rather him. I know you talked about black people should do their own thing and like amongst each other. But I feel like if it was gonna happen, it would have happened already.
I don't know. I mean, I already said how I feel about that, so it's like I don't want to keep rehashing. But I personally am not having conversations with my oppressors. It's no purpose. Like there's nothing we need to discuss. I already know what your agenda is. I know what mine is. History has shown that we're not going to come to a common ground through conversation. We have to sometimes do shit to get people's attention and make them do shit differently. That's my perspective on that.
Most definitely. I think we about to have one more caller in before we get up out of here.
Whatever.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I bet it is still fuck me.
This nigga pulling the
fuck me real good.
Oh, shut up!
Oh, we don't get a horn for that.
Well, hey, are we going to touch on Rihanna with this whole not want to do the halftime shit? Because I think that is totally dope. Although I'm saddened that she's not going to be on halftime. But hey,
here we go. This is the last call for the night.
Last call.
Seriously, not another podcast.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I had this number already.
Okay, you gonna say who you are, sir?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, go ahead and speak.
You never was called. I've been waiting quite a while to say something. You know.
Okay.
Well,
the fellas know me. I haven't had a chance to meet you, but the fellas know me. Pickle and being ready here. You know.
Okay.
Go ahead. What you got? What you got?
Well, actually, I want to touch on your topic of. Okay, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are you on an Obama phone?
No, it's a Trump phone.
Oh, okay. No wonder that shit is fucked up. Okay. as long as we've established that part.
You knew that was funny, Bill.
Hey, I'm glad you said that. Okay, noted. What's happening?
No, I was going to ask. I got one question. I want to ask. What do you think the resolution is for all the stuff you guys were talking about? What you guys think could bring the black community together? What do you think is lacking in the black community that can change it?
I can tell you right now.
What can change? Because we all know what the problem is. What's the resolution?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I think one of the resolutions, we have to take education seriously.
Absolutely.
And like with education, you actually expand. And there's been studies that the more information you feed your brain, the smarter you get. And there's studies about that where the people can give you information and give you exposed to stuff, and your brain actually changes to that. It's called brain elasticity. So the problem is we've been taught to devalue education.
Mm-hmm.
And our education, I'm going to say this right now, our education system is fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And the problem with the educational system is all the other kids who actually get to a real education goes to private school. That's what that happens with apartheid. When they moved us into public schools, whites, which you call elite whites, start moving the kids out of public schools, and they move them to private schools. I have a kid who's actually doing geometry 2 and going to trig at 11 because I'm paying over $600 a month for him to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now if he would have been in public school, which I work at a public school. He still would have been learning like fractions and shit like that. And that's the problem. Everybody comes in this country, they value education. They make sure, like, if you look at Asians, Indians, you better have fucking straight A's or they're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. You know, that's the fastest way to pull yourself up what I like to call the political ladder. The fastest way to change your people is to get them all educated. How many educated black men do you know? How many guys with PhDs do you know?
Let me.
Nah, he talking about in general.
Can I counter that? And I'm so glad that you framed it that way, because that actually ties perfectly into what my response is to this gentleman's question. Starting with what Mr. Pickles said, I'm not convinced that black people have been taught to devalue education. What I am convinced of is that black people have been provided with shitty educations. And part of that has been systematic through, integration, and by default, us getting semi-segregated into neighborhoods where now we only have the option to go to the shitty schools, and the funding is not the same as it is in some of the more predominant neighborhoods. And I'm not convinced that black people selected to devalue education, but at the end of the day, the people who are put in those schools aren't passionate about teaching our kids, so they're not given the same opportunity and the same education as some of the other people. And in addition to that, when you were talking about like us having to go to private schools to get higher education, this is one of the reasons why I don't know that integration was the best thing for black people, because I think if we had segregated schools where they were black-owned schools by people who are passionate about education, I know for a fact that those schools can be great schools, because my daughter goes to one of them. She goes to a school that's owned and ran by a black person. It has a 9 out of 10 on the greatschools.org. I know that there's a school in Harlem that's owned and run by the Black Guy Canada or whatever. History has shown that, when black people in position of powers invest in their own communities, change can happen. So I'm not necessarily going to go as far as to say that I think we should segregate ourselves again, but I do think that black people should be empowered to, invest in their communities in ways where now we have people who have the best interests of black people in positions of power, elected officials and all that. And I think that that's something that hasn't always happened because, our communities have been ran by people who don't even represent the community.
I agree with that, but also there's flip side to that, because that makes us a target. If you study Black Wall Street and what they did to Black Wall Street, we study like all of our leaders and what they did to our leaders and how they assassinate them. That makes us a target. We need that, but also we need regulation. in a generalization.
But we can regulate ourselves.
Yeah, what I'm saying is
we don't need Bushano or whatever his name is, Bushiano, to come into Watts and govern a neighborhood that he doesn't even live in. We need people who represent. We need people who represent those neighborhoods to be in positions of power, who can actually represent the people that live there.
Okay, can I say something?
Sure.
Y'all took my topic and just ran off with it. All right, I'm back. Now, what I want to say is when you guys say the education, I agree, but that's the problem right now is when y'all was talking about hip-hop earlier and everything, they've pushed the hip-hop to the forefront as the way to make it out of the ghetto versus when in my generation grew up, you had other dreams and achievements of getting out of the ghetto and becoming something, I don't even hear sports as much as I used to. It's like everything's hip hop now. This is the only avenue they give you is this one way.
Okay.
Y'all agree?
Yeah.
I don't know that I would say that, and I'm not sure why you feel that that's what you hear. Because I guess it's all about who you surround yourself with too. Because I know a lot of people who go to school and they're getting higher educations because they recognize that, if you ain't got signed by 25 or 27, chances are your odds are slimmer. So even if you thought that was the route you were going, at some point you got to come with that plan B, which may entail you going back to school, getting, specialized in some field, and then, making a career out of that. So
they're going back to traffic. That's usually
you're speaking more as an individual perspective. But I'm just saying on a wide scale as far as like
I'm not going to subscribe to the fact that all or most Black people aspire to be hip hop artists. I actually think that that's what they want us to think, though, because I know a lot of people who actually value education, and a lot of people who, even people who may not even have a history of education being valued in their households, but even on a smaller level, going to school to be a CNA or whatever the case may be, phlebotomy. I see a lot of Black people trying to put themselves in certain positions. I really do, on a small and high scale.
But you talking about in your daily walk of life, you see this, right? Just you personally, right?
I'm saying, well, I can only speak as to what I'm around, because naturally I'm in one location. But if you're going off of what you see on TV, then yeah, you're going to see hip hop and entertainment like we were talking about earlier. But if you're talking about what I think my perception is of what Black people aspire to be, I can't say that it's just all hip hop, because I think that a lot of Black people now are starting to realize that education is important. And I think that it's being under advertise how many Black people are now getting educations. There's probably more Black people with higher degrees now than ever before.
But in the right fields, that's the problem.
And see, that's my point is, see, you went a little bit further to really find out the underlying part of that. But as far as the forefront of it, what they're putting out in front of everybody is the hip hop agenda. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
But you went a little further, and you actually know people that's hands-on really pursuing education.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need to get more intelligent so people can use their mind more than just this little avenue to take where they feature this little cash, and it just looks, it's just horrible. The outcome is horrible. I just don't like it. I see people, I'm in the music, I'm a producer, I mean, you see more people, you particularly see more people pursuing education than I do on a daily walk.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I look on a big platform, they're putting the hip hop thing out there as this is the way. I'd rather see people really using their minds more than taking that route. You see what I'm saying?
I agree with you completely. But we had someone on the show a while ago who remained nameless, who was passionate about his career, and I challenged him that way and asked him, okay, well, what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? And there was no other option. He was like, this is going to work out. So I totally agree with you.
What do you say? This or die, right? If this don't work out,
but
damn near.
But look at this though. The niggas is going to have hope because all the educated people are big supporters of this music and hip hop. When they get off of work on Fridays and Saturdays, they're hitting the club and listening to this music.
Yeah.
On their way to work. So
absolutely,
you still have people that's going to have confidence in keep pushing it because it's an easy way. It's an easy way out. It's like a lottery ticket. Music, basketball, acting. That's the easy lottery ticket. That's easy. You know that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that. That's what I started off with. Acting ain't as big as the rap shit, and the sports. I don't even see guys achieving sports like they did when I was coming up. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be that certain, special star of a team. They don't care about that shit no more.
I think part of it has to do with the fact that there's this perception in hip hop that you can be self-made. Whereas, in the sports industry, you're still relying upon a recruiter or someone to recognize your talent and give you opportunity. Or even in acting, you're relying on a production agency to see you and give you opportunity. But in hip hop, we see a lot of people who portray themselves in a way like, look, I was selling the mixtapes out the back of the trunk of my car and I made it. Like, I'm self-made.
And that's
going to make people feel empowered, That's
a scheme. I mean, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why because I dealt with the industry and.
Pickle.
Yeah, what's up?
Pickle. Let me say this right quick. Go ahead. Have you ever heard that new saying that hard work beats talent? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a new perspective that they're giving. You don't need talent anymore. Just be relevant. Just keep putting yourself out there. You don't have to really be doing anything. Then let people keep seeing you or be heard, and then that outbeats a real talent. And that's what they're giving them. That's what they're paying for now.
Wait, can you hear me? You're 200% right. Because I'm going to tell you something. This is what people want you to think. Work hard, right? Work really hard. They tell you this. I'm going to tell you because I got some mentors who are actually elite dudes and they're actually alpha elite white guys like you're telling you about, right? And they got this whole way of thinking that's totally alien to what we think. They say, you know what? We want y'all to think fucking work hard. And this is a true story. I want my employees to think fucking work hard because as long as you work hard, you'll be a fucking slave to everybody else. Nobody's going to teach you to work fucking smart.
And say work smarter, not harder.
But it's like the rich dad, poor dad concept. I mean, like the poor dad is going to tell their child, go to school, work hard, get you a good old county job, and you'll be set for life. Whereas the rich dad is going to say, look, get yourself a talent that you can sell and create a business out of it.
But that's exposure.
And it's a different mindset as a whole. Like do you realize that systematically we've been taught to, like even earlier, you said that you think value in education is what's going to change the Black community. There's some people that will argue that maybe education is not necessary to change communities. I'm not saying I feel that way, but I'm just bringing up the point to say that some people may feel that maybe it's about ownership and, actually being your own boss that may change communities because then we now have ownership in something.
I hate the word boss.
Well, that's what I teach my kids is to not train your brain to become an employee. Train your brain to become a boss. When you come out the house, off the porch, come out with the perspective of being a boss and owning shit. Don't come out with I'm going to join the workforce and be an employee. Now, I'm not saying don't get a job, but I'm saying long term, don't let that be the end of your life. You see what I'm saying?
Now, why you had a problem with the word boss?
Well, I'm telling you why. Because I spoke to V earlier about the code words. It's a nice executive neighborhood when they're selling houses. That means mostly white. When you see certain white, and I'm not saying just whites, but just white culture. When you see like these males, they'll go to you and say, "What's up, boss? How you doing, boss?" Right? And it's a code word for Black. They'll say everybody else, "Hey, yeah, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" and all this other stuff. But when they see the Black dude, it's "What's up, boss? Hey, boss, how you doing?" And I even seen Hispanics do that. They don't do that with each other. They never call each other boss, but they call Blacks boss. And it's almost like a tongue-in-cheek joke that, oh, you think you're in charge and you're not. And that's what I'm saying. It's the educational part. People understand this. When you teach your kids, the parents would teach with the tools that they're given. And your tools might be limited because you don't have an education or you come from a certain walk of life.
Go ahead. Hey, I'll blow my nose. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. But you come from a certain way.
Hey, no. Okay, now I got so much to say. Okay, remember when you said I come from private school,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time of going to private school versus public school, I didn't really see the difference. Like when my peers growing up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back, blase years later, however old I am, I can look back and I say, yeah, I do see a difference in my learning, the intake of the information, and the way I process it out.
Mm-hmm.
Versus my peers who went to public school. I'm not saying that they're bad, no bad people or nothing like that, but I never really went to public school to know to differentiate public and private, or the concern for the student. And I'm quite sure that in private school, the teachers must have a lot more concern for the students versus public.
I went to both. I grew up elementary. I went to private school, and then I think from seventh and on up, I went to public. And the difference is they're more. Well, the one I went to, it was more smaller. It was more smaller, and everything. Some people came from. A lot of them there came from families with money, had better upbringings than in the hood. They all came from good neighborhoods, even though it was still the hood, but they came from like different families. Not to say that a household.
Middle class. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a whole different thing. Now you get to public school. Public school was just like Royal Rumble. Everybody's fucking everywhere. It's niggas fighting. It wasn't when I was in private school. It was like a fight like twice a year. In public school, niggas is fighting damn near every week, if not every week.
Every day.
Ray, when you said that, I just thought of something. I just thought of this. Y'all might not even pay attention to it, but I always look at the background. Every time they make a movie about a bad school, it ain't never been a private school, really. Most of the time,
Can I offer?
Go ahead.
No, I want to offer a perspective even on a broader level, coming from someone who's been in both private school predominantly, public school for 1 year. But then I even go further than that, working in the private sector versus working in the public sector. And I think I can't really generalize, but I will and say almost always, anytime you have a private institution, there's going to be higher stakes and higher level of dedication from the staff, because you're dealing with at-will employment versus a public institution where, their job is a little bit more protected. There's less governance in some ways, because you have unions and stuff in place that are going to protect the employees. So therefore, management is not going to be as motivated to impose certain, negative action on them if they're not performing at a certain level. Whereas in the private sector, you could get terminated. My point to say that is just that I think in almost any area that you compare, the private is going to produce better quality than public. And it's sad to say, but it's just facts, Yeah,
our books wasn't tore up, bathrooms wasn't crazy, the food was great. Like it was a better quality of school. It's just like that. Schools wasn't dirty, tore up, wasn't no tagging in there like how public schools.
That's where apartheid went.
It's the same thing as far as like when you think about a corporation, like when you have a private corporation, you have stakeholders who are investing in this institution because they want to see it succeed. Whereas the public sector, that shit is just based on government funding. So there's really not as much at stake as it is when you have actual people with an agenda investing in something.
And that's what's going on, because it's actually the stakeholders are the taxpayers. The thing is, we becoming a highly educated babysitters in the public sector, especially in schooling. And I worked in private sector. I worked in corporate office. I work in the public sector now. And yeah, it's the same. Exactly what AC, and I hate to agree with you.
I know you do. I hate to fucking
agree with you. Yes, it does. I'm gonna tell you this, but I've seen both of them, and she's 200% right.
I just thought of something else. Hold on, Pickles. I got another question for you. Right? right? But I'm gonna say this. You correct me if I'm wrong. All the school shootings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any private schools in Charlotte?
No, not.
I just want to bring that up. I just thought about that. Right
Can I tell you why? Being from both institutions, public schools tend to stay open as far as like access to the building, whereas private schools, like once it's cut off time, like okay, everybody's supposed to be here by 8, they're shutting that shit down.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
It's almost impossible to ditch. Like I didn't have the privilege to even try to fucking ditch. Like I feel like my childhood was fucking deprived. Like all my friends that went to public school talked about all the times they ditched and went and smoked weed behind the school. I didn't have the opportunity to do that because it's like once you in, you're in, and once school is out, even then it's like the public bus is right in front of the private school. I didn't have to go walk down the street to go to the bus stop with all the common folk. Like that shit picked us up right there. So there was less opportunity for us to even get ourselves in bullshit. And also there's less opportunity for bullshit to come to us, you know?
Right.
Because they have better architecture. They can pick the buildings. They can pick the security. They don't have to worry about all the unions and all this other stuff.
Right.
That's a really good point. You know what I'm saying? If we were to call it this, that's a really, really good point. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you don't see shootings. You don't see none of that stuff because, I mean, it might happen, but it's not on the scale of a public.
Yeah, a majority of school shootings are happening at public schools.
I will also even argue that part of the reason too is because everything we're talking about, since there's less governance in regards to, security and things like that too, there's more opportunities for bullying and things like that to happen in public schools where people are prompted to want to do some active shooter type situation versus in a private setting. Like you bully somebody, your ass is going to detention on site. There wasn't even as much opportunity for certain things to happen in that setting as there was in public school. Like it's almost like bullying is just a absolute common thing in a public setting, whereas in private school it's like we all family, like we legit family, not Kanye family, but like we really family. Like we may talk shit, but at the end of the day we done been in school since kindergarten, 8th grade, like so I don't know, I just feel like it's a totally different environment. But I appreciate these questions because it's very thought-provoking questions. But why won't you share your name with us?
Pickles.
I know you, nigga. I'm talking about this person on the microphone. He said Pickles.
I'm Pickles too.
You Pickles too? Which pickle are you?
Oh, yeah.
You the butter pickle, the sour pickle?
Y'all tangling pickles.
Pickle gang.
That's dill pickle right there.
This is dill pickle.
Okay.
I go by NC. What's your name, JC? What's it?
AC. What's up with y'all not knowing my name tonight?
It's AC, right?
AC.
What's it stand for?
I'm NC.
How you look at me? She look at me.
Because
what's the first one? You don't give your whole government on the radio
Yo,
show.
she looked at me.
What type of name do you have?
What?
What's your first name?
My first name is Amber.
Wow, you got a white name.
I don't have a white name. I have a great name.
Well,
make names great again.
Brooke, Kimberly.
Make names great again.
Well, what'd you say your name was? Ill Pickle?
What'd you say, Ill?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question that I told Reggie. I said, man, if you ever want some topics, I got a load of them that would really be interesting for the show.
And I told you send in.
We need to come up with an email for the show so they can send them in.
I'll say it in here. You can send them in. You can call in. If you call in and talk to us, we're trying to get the callers more.
This has been the most crowd participation in a long time. I love this.
Hold on, let me get it. Yeah. How many callers we had today?
We had about 4 or 5.
It was
Dolly,
Voss, Lady A.
I'm an alumni to this podcast right here. That's who I am.
You most definitely.
He says he's an alumni.
Hey, you remember your famous quote? Your famous quote?
Did she say dick? Did he say dick?
Oh, this is Pull Up. Is that who this is?
No.
Who is this?
It's not Pull Up.
Hey, you remember your famous line on the old podcast?
Pull up where you at.
No, what I say?
Is that a dick? Did he say dick? You
Is that a dick? Did he say dick?
Yeah.
What?
I'm sorry.
Did he say dick?
Did he say dick?
Did he say dick?
Oh, you talking about on one of the episodes?
It was on
When,
Pork Chop and Applesauce show.
Oh, okay.
And something happened, and we was all sitting there doing the show, and somebody said something to him about
some asshole said.
Yeah, some asshole said something about a dick like under his breath, and then he was in the background. He said, "What? Did he say dick? Is that a dick?" Man, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
I'm gonna play. I'm
so
gonna play it for you.
that's a classic quote, huh?
That's
What you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Right. He said, "I didn't say shit about dick."
Look, even pull up in the message board said, "Did he say is that a dick?"
Oh, I think that was Pickles. Pickles said it.
What? The under the breath shit?
I was talking about him, right?
No, I know. It was some asshole.
Anyway,
That's it. We got Steel Pickle.
Yeah, still pickle. I like that.
It's Steel Pickle. That's what he said.
It's still pickle.
We appreciate you. And like I said, you call in. You can send you could text the topics. You call in. It's probably better if you call in. You know what I'm saying? You might want to start your own podcast. We appreciate you calling in, bro.
I'm a supporter. I don't want to make my own podcast. I want to make this one better. I want to make podcast greater.
That's okay. Make podcast great again.
Okay.
He wants to make
I appreciate that,
great
man.
again.
Well, you have a good night, man. And
yes.
They going crazy in the message board.
I just want to say something real quick because Young Dolly said that the callers then went so hard in the paint, like the people in the boards didn't get no shine tonight.
Hey, that's true.
And that is true. But Dolly, you are a caller. So what do you mean?
Yeah,
you got your shine.
You know what I'm saying? Right now, everybody talking about how the caller talking about is that a dick. Everybody laughing in the message board right now.
And Pull Up is back to fucking AC hating as usual.
Pull up. Where you at, man? Call in. Pull up.
Man.
What'd you say?
What's up with y'all two?
What are you talking about?
You and Pull Up, man. What's
up
with
Pickle,
this?
We appreciate you calling in, bro. And I appreciate you listening to the show, man.
Crap.
That's it.
Yeah. We about to get out of here. We at 2:29. We out of here at 2:30.
All right, for sure.
All right, man. That's real shit, though.
You shut up, Pull Up. I'm tired of his shit.
That's real shit, Dodie. I told him I was gonna read some of the stuff, but shit, I done forgot. And Lady A came on and started dropping gems, and we have not been. But y'all been keeping each other company though.
Ooh, you tried it.
They have. Everybody been there talking to each other. LOL Trump got everybody wanting to make everything great again.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
He made that great again shit great.
I wanted Dolly to talk about when he was on the phone how he's a registered Republican.
What?
Yeah, me too.
But
we know you are a Republican.
A registered Republican, but don't fuck with Trump. That's crazy.
Not really, because I mean, it's like a lot of Democrats who didn't fuck with Hillary. I mean
I'm actually second generation Republican.
Dude,
real talk.
You a whole different entity.
Yeah, I know.
When you listen back to this show later, you gonna realize every time someone asks a question, you start out with, "I used to do this." And
yeah, I did.
I used to do that.
I have a lot of life experience.
I used to do that.
I promise you that.
What is your specialty?
My specialty?
Yeah.
It's being me.
Oh, whatever. That shit ain't no fucking specialty.
Oh, shit, my specialty.
He like the Jamaican who done had 1 million jobs.
No, real talk. I'd have been law enforcement. I still work in a law enforcement capacity right now. You know, I worked in corporate office. I done the music back in the day. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I had a really
most definitely was.
Oh my God, another caller?
Pull up.
Seriously, not another podcast. Hello?
What's up, young niggas?
Pull up. What's up? Pull up.
What's good, nigga?
You are so excited. Is this your nigga or something?
Really?
Yeah, really. He's like, pull up, yes. What's up, bitch?
That's your nigga.
No, this is not my nigga.
That's
My nigga don't pull up.
That's the type of dudes you mess with anyway.
I don't mess with niggas that sound like this. You on vacation? Oh, so in other words, you was in jail.
I was put away for a little bit. Hey, so you like that shit, don't you?
No, I don't. You sound like a fucking child predator or something. He sound like he's on Megan's Law.
I'm your type of nigga.
No, sir, you're not. You're fucking weird.
I'm a 2-time loser. That's the type of niggas you like.
I'm glad you think that.
Hey, she does. She like that. She like niggas. Like really.
I do like niggas.
I'm talking about like dirty khaki niggas.
You think I like dirty khaki niggas? I don't even deal with niggas who wear khakis.
Dudes that still wear cornrows. You know what I'm talking about? She right down your alley. Pull up.
Right down my alley.
I'm sorry, I don't date niggas who have blonde hair. So sorry.
Wait.
Blonde hair.
You don't know what color your boyfriend hair is, nigga? You better pull up on your nigga and know what his hair look like.
You gotta shut the fuck up on that shit, dude. All right.
So you don't know what your nigga hair look
My
like?
nigga, what color's your hair?
You need to pull up then.
What color's your hair, huh?
Oh, hey.
But I'm a woman.
Hey,
I'm every bit of a woman.
Cut this bitch off.
We about to cut this bitch off. Hang up the phone.
I enjoyed the show, the little bit I did catch.
You're fucking weird.
Y'all keep it 100.
Damn it.
I can't stand him.
I
don't even fucking know him and I don't like him.
You know you love me.
I don't love you.
She do. She like
at
that.
all.
She like that.
Like, ew.
Hey, but y'all keep it 100.
He sound like he's taking a shit, and I don't appreciate that you're calling the podcast while you fucking straining, bro.
Hey.
You better rock that shit out. Just rock it out, bro. Like, sometimes you just gotta rock for a while. Drink a little water and just rock.
Hey, pull up.
Hey, Jake, look. What's up, nigga?
Hey, man. Yeah, they got jokes.
Your balls are in the toilet as we speak. That shit is disgusting. I can't deal with it.
You know how they hang, right?
Yeah, real low.
Yeah, real low, bitch.
Hey, all right. Well, pull up. We appreciate you calling in.
God,
I'll see you next time.
Take it easy, man.
All right.
He said, "Take it easy, man." Like you have to take a shit. I can't deal with it. Where do you find these fucking people, dude? All your friends are weird.
I can't believe you got on my hair, man. What's wrong with my hair?
I had to.
All right.
I know you're going for that Odell Beckham issue, but you don't have the swag of Odell Beckham. You can't do that.
Nah, he got me. Yeah, you're right.
You can't try to look like Odell, but have the mentality of Trump.
Why is that? What makes you think I got the mentality of Trump?
I've been listening to you this whole night.
I'm just alpha. That's all it is. I'm alpha as fuck.
Alpha?
Yeah.
No.
The difference.
You're Omega.
No, you're not used to that. I get it.
I am used to this.
Well,
you know what? Like, really?
Yeah, I get it.
Really?
You're not used to
I appreciate everybody calling in tonight and everybody listening.
Jesus. Where do you find these fucking people, man?
Why I sound so loud?
That's nice you want to talk.
Shout out to Young Dolly for calling in. Shout out to Lavoisier. If anybody want to follow Lavoisier, you can follow him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Lavoisier Cornerstone. Everything else is Grow the Heck Up. Also, you can follow his growtheheckup.com. Pretty dope, interesting dude. If y'all, I know y'all can tell by him talking while he was in or on the phone. Shout out to Lady A. Excuse me, Crown Conversations. Saturdays 3 to 4 on Spreaker. Also in yeah, man.
You the king of the us.
Oh,
God
shout out.
damn.
Yeah, because shout out to shout out. What did he say his name was? Steel Pickles. Shout out to Steel Pickle for calling in. Is that it?
That's a bitch pickle.
He said that.
Look, these motherfuckers going crazy here. Look, finishing with a bang. That's funny. Yeah. It was going fine, and
He
then
said he had to pull up, but did you pull out though?
Oh, on that note, we up out of here.